Hey, what is going on, guys? Hope you're having an incredible Sunday. Welcome to the AV Experience. How are you guys feeling, man? We just came out of MWAVE, as Chris calls it, MWAVE 2.0. He mentioned in the chat he's exhausted. He said MWAVE 2.0 sure kicked my butt, but still didn't stop it from being a larger event above year one. Absolutely, man. I know I'm feeling it. It was a lot of work, but man, it was super, super incredible. So we'll share a little bit about our experiences tonight from MWAVE 2023. Had a great time. Had some new stuff this year that we didn't have last year. New venue, just a whole lot of cool things. And then we've even got some cool stuff in store for MWAVE 2024. It's hard to believe we're already starting to work on that.
No breaks.
Yeah, man, no rest for the weary. So hopefully you guys have been seeing a lot of the content. Two things I'll bring up. I'm trying to put out one video a day for probably the next 10 or 12 days, which is kicking my butt. I'm up till at least 12:30. One night I was up till 3 a.m. The other night I was up till 2 a.m. editing. I'm trying to crank those out for you as best as I can, because I know this coming up week, I'm driving with my wife and my daughter to see Rachel, my other daughter, oldest daughter. She's hiking the Appalachian Trail. So we're going to drive up to Virginia, literally stay one day and hang out with her, and then drive back the next day. So I'm trying to get content before that. And then literally I guess the next, well, probably within 3 days after that, I'm flying up to South Carolina. South Carolina, North Carolina, Charlotte.
That's North Carolina.
So North Carolina for Audio Advice Live. If you guys haven't been to that, it's a super, super great event. Those folks are amazing. Love hanging out with them. So I'll be up there. Ryan, you'll be at Audio Advice Live as well with Mad VR.
Yep, I'll be there.
Are you going?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I'm not going.
He's like, heck no, man. I'm dying over here, man. It's been a long week. So I've got that. And then 2 weeks later, me and Ryan are, well, I guess a little bit longer than that, we're going to Cedia. So I'll be doing some content there. And then,
did you decide if you're going to the Atlanta show?
I don't know. I still haven't even heard from him, so I'm not sure. I don't think I am, but it's a possibility. And then later on this month, I'll be going up to Scott Newby's house. He's doing a little get together there. So it's wide open for me, man.
Jonathan, should we go to that?
I think I got to take a little break, man, and let my wife.
You got to build back up those wife points.
Yeah, I think so. I would like to go up there sometime. We missed the last one, so
yeah.
I know. They
what's,
just keep
what's
happening.
Actual date on it?
Like the third week of August.
For what?
For newbies. Scott Newbies.
Newbies is going to be, the 25th, 26th, 27th of August.
I don't know, man. I don't think so. Not this year.
And then 2 weeks after that, Cedia. So, yeah, it's going to be wide open for a while, man. Well, that's funny. Jamie says, Jonathan 1, wife 5. I guess the score, I don't know. You got outvoted, man. Cool, Johnny. Glad you had a good time at MWAVE, man. Great seeing so many folks there. And that we'll talk about that tonight as well. FOMO is in the chat. What's up, brother? So FOMO, hopefully you got some rest. I know you and Brian killed it in the TV comparison room. Super grateful for you. They've got some big plans for next year. Even in their stream, they had some great suggestions, and like, you know what? That would be pretty cool. And so they've got some ideas, even bringing in some sound bars to hook up to the TVs and just to make that a little bit more interactive. And but they did a fantastic job. But we've got a whole year to reach out to even more brands. We had one TV take a dump on us and die. Power supply went out.
As soon as FOMO touched it.
FOMO, you broke it, man. So super, super cool, man. Well, let me say hi to some folks in the chat. Good to see you, SRW 1000, Finster, Mark Fox is in the house, Gene Splicer. Let's see, Chris.
Splicer's doing a room. He's building out a new room, and I think it was Chris that said he needs to change his name to Room Splicer because of what he's doing to that room.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, he's moving.
Jonathan moved one pole, and Gene's having to move multiple poles.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
knocking down walls and stuff. So he just texted me today. So Brian's got his work cut out, but he said MWAVE gave him a fire under his butt. He's ready to get moving on this.
Good. And then Brian came and talked to me about a storm after I sold him an 8010. Like, dude, we got to do something.
It's okay to
You got to use your equipment.
just keep moving forward with your project.
Yeah. I mean, I'll take it back in on trade, but dude, we got to
exactly
get your room going.
Yeah. And I want to give a big thanks to Chris. Chris is in the chat. Chris, I have been tearing up that barbecue sauce that you hooked me up with. We had family over today, my dad, my stepmom, my son, my daughter-in-law, and my grandson. And so we had chicken, we had pork, and we had steak. And I put that raspberry barbecue sauce on everything. It was good, man. So it's like a chipotle raspberry. It's got like it's not hot, but it's got a little kick to it.
Mm-hmm.
But is this a homemade sauce? I never heard of a vendor here. Is it?
No, I'll be right back.
Oh,
making him go check.
Do you have any idea what that is, Ryan?
I didn't hear. I was telling my daughter to turn down her iPad.
A raspberry chipotle sauce? I can't even place where that would be.
No. For anybody that's not in the know, MWAVE was so stressful for me, all my hair fell out.
You might have been working on that for the first MWAVE.
Yeah. No.
All right.
I want to see these sauces though.
It's called Blue Hog.
Huh.
There we go.
Where is that from?
Let me get it from my face.
No, it doesn't like it.
Hmm.
It's fine.
So, Chris, what restaurant's that from? Or is that we haven't heard of that? Ryan and I haven't heard of that. We're missing out. Apparently.
LC's. This is like a hot barbecue sauce.
Yep, I know LC's.
I've heard of LC's.
LC's barbecue, Kansas. This one says Blues Hog raspberry chipotle barbecue sauce. But dude, I've been tearing that up. It's good.
They're here in Missouri side, he said.
So Jamie says Lee Summit. Okay. I've never heard of it on the Kansas side. That's news to me.
Oh, yeah. All right. Let me jump back in here in the chat. Man, a bunch of folks in here. So anyway, we're going to just keep starting. So if you got questions, comments, and especially if you were at MWAVE, definitely let us know your thoughts in the chat. I'd love to get your opinion on what you liked, what was cool. And if you want to share more, you can go to MidwestAVExperience.com. And if you scroll down right here, two things. I've added a link to the videos page. I'll show you that in a second. But right underneath that, share your experience. That's just a small form. Send us some photos of maybe some things that you took photos of at the event, preferably even with you in it. But then just share kind of your thoughts of the event. What'd you like? So we can share that on social. But right here, if you go to MWAVE 2023 videos, check this out, man. I tried to hook you guys up. So lots of content creators have been adding. I got to add my latest video here. Life of Bliss has got some shorts. He's actually working on a video last night. He said he'll probably have it up maybe tomorrow. Stop the FOMO. Him and Brian did a couple of live streams while they were there comparing the TVs. So we got several videos there. Brian's
all the TVs still work in those pictures.
What's that? Yeah. So Brian's tech therapy, great getting to meet him, get to know him at the event. So he's got several there. Woody's got a short here. Haterade Cowboy's been cranking out a couple videos. He's doing more vlog style, which was super cool. So he's kind of walking around the venue, kind of giving you a backstage pass to it. SC Audio, man. Scott has got some funny stuff. If you guys go check out his content, man, as you can see, man, he's got wigs on and he just had me cracking up. This one here, you got to see. I think it's this one. It says, I'm late for MWAVE 2023. I'm just telling you, go watch it. Again, you can go to MidwestAVExperience.com. Up here at the top, you can go to videos, 2023 videos, and that is the page. But he had me cracking up, man. So, but anyway, just trying to kind of collectively bring all those together in one spot. So anytime one of the content creators says, hey, I've uploaded a video, I add it over there. So, but yeah, man, let's jump into some
So
thoughts.
Chris says that it's in stores and heavily
Okay.
carried in KC barbecue stores in Olathe. So it's
Nice.
not from a restaurant. It's actually sold in stores.
Nice. He says Alati. That's how I used to pronounce it, man. When you first told me Olathe, I could not. I was like, Olathe.
You do it correct now.
I know, but it took me like a year. It was bad, man. I definitely did not understand that. Cool. So Curtis said he's going to be there on Saturday. So I'm assuming you're referring to Audio Vice Live. So that'd be super great to meet you. See some folks seen. Is it pronounced Oppenheimer?
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer. I haven't seen that one yet.
I haven't either, but I think
Super
Tony, Chris, and Andy did.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
Or Tony, Nick, and Andy. Excuse me.
So Ike's going to be there, Audio Vice Live as well. Again, for those of you that don't know, what are the dates on that? That is,
I think it's the 4th.
I need to look, man. I got so many things.
Maybe
yeah,
not.
4th, 5th, and 6th of August.
Yeah.
So we'd love to have you join us. A lot of content creators are going to be there. They've got a bunch of vendors.
They do.
So it's in a hotel. You'll get a chance to hear a lot of 2-channel. They've got some surprises for us this year. So they said they're upping their game and gonna have some bigger stuff and go big. So, but they did a killer job the first year. So definitely appreciate those guys and what they're doing and bringing to the space. Cool. Richard, man, it was always great hanging out with you. Richard, big thanks, man. Hooked me up with some food while I was there. I'm like running around doing this. And he's like, bro, have you eaten? I'm like, no, but I'm starving. So he went out and he got.
I thought it was funny that people kept giving you food, and I'm
sorry, man.
Just the forgotten son.
Most of the time you were gone though, dude. You were in the comparison room. We'll talk about that tonight. Let's see who else before we get to comments. Miami, good to see you, man. So I am just north of you in Plant City. MWAVE was great. Cool deal, man. Let's see. Man, there's a lot of chats in here. So you guys are going to have to star these. Just trying to see if there was a couple other things. So JTR was killing it. So was SVS. I've got an interview. I just posted the JTR one today. Posted the big room. There was probably 6 different brands the other day. That one was, let's see, Perlisten, Storm Audio, Seymour AV, Mad VR, Kaleidoscape, Row 1. I think I got everybody. So that was a big one. And I've got a video interviewing Nick from SVS. And I think Larry was in that video as well. So cool, man. Appreciate it. FOMO says everybody like the video. That way we can get this out to more people that might be interested. Looks like Steve's going to be at Audio Vice Live. Here's a good question. How many of y'all brought gear home from MWAVE? Dude, a lot of y'all brought. Ryan's like, yeah, I brought too much. We sold a ton of it there. Speaking of that, there's still definitely some stuff for sale. Ryan purchased a lot of that to make MWAVE happen, especially the comparisons, because brands aren't super excited about putting their brand right up head to head against somebody else. No. So a lot of times Ryan literally from Ascend AV says, look, I'll fund this portion of it. And then he ends up turning around and selling it at a discount because it's open box and
demo.
What's the other word? Demo units. So.
Yeah. So that, and then a lot of the experience rooms I ended up buying out just to help the vendors. Because when you're a vendor, put yourselves in their shoes. They bring a lot of gear, right? And a lot of these companies aren't as big as you think they are. So they bring a lot of gear, and then that gear gets used. Well, what do they do with the gear now, right? They can't sell it as new. They've incurred shipping costs on getting the stuff to the show. Then they have to incur shipping costs on getting the stuff away from the show. And freight is stupid expensive. Yeah. So a big part of what I try to do is just help the vendors, especially when we're just getting started, because they're taking a risk. And I think it definitely paid off for them. But if you guys are interested in anything that was at the show, and you think it may be available, let me know. And I can let you know if it's still available, because I need to continue to clear space out of my garage. Yeah. We brought home 3 26-foot trucks
Mm-hmm.
full of stuff, and weren't done unloading until 2 a.m.
Yeah, it
Jonathan,
was.
where were you? You left. You
Jonathan
left
went
me.
to bed.
I left at 8 o'clock from the center, and you guys were ready to go to your house. So it took you like from 9 to 2 to unload, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yikes.
Yep. Only 5 hours.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so we've got a page set up on the website. So if there's anything you're interested in, shoot us an email, midwestaviexperience.com/sales.
Were there any push-up comparisons at MWAVE?
Dude, we were too tired to do push-ups. I'll be honest. It was run and gun, man. But like I said, it was really great. I'm grateful I had 2 videographers and photographers there to help me out. And we still barely got it done. So, but yeah, oh, that's funny. Yeah. So Chris is talking about, I put up a short. Ryan was about to take me to the airport to go back home. And he gets a call saying, hey, this is FedEx. I'm at the beginning of your development. I can't pull in. I'm here to pick up basically a package. So we're carrying this daggum Sony GTZ 380 projector, $100,000 projector through his neighborhood on a pallet.
To be clear, we weren't carrying it. It was on a pallet jack, okay? I wasn't going
hilarious.
Hulk or...
No, but that was pretty funny.
Could have been disastrous, but it ended up working out.
For sure, man. All right. Yeah, no more walks this week.
No Buckeye amps or Anthem AVM 70s, unfortunately. The Buckeye stuff all sold.
Yeah.
And the Anthem that was at the show was provided by a vendor for us to utilize, because I am not an Anthem dealer. So I wasn't able to get one, but one of our vendors graciously provided one, but all the Buckeyes are gone. If you want a Buckeye, let me know.
Marantz. You have that Marantz receiver.
I do have a Marantz AV10 though, and I have a Marantz A1H. Yeah. So if you want any or either of those, they can be had.
Yeah. Ryan Richards said he's going to hook you up next time. You starved this time, but he'll hook you up next time.
I didn't eat the whole weekend. Nobody offered me food. Just sat there and starved.
Oh my gosh, man.
Is Ryan getting rid of the JVC NZ9 since he has the new Sony 380? I don't have the 380. Yeah. So what ended up happening with that, and I felt really bad, was I felt really bad because that 380 was supposed to be in the show.
Hey, Ryan.
Sony.
Real quick, check your mic to see if that's using that. It almost sounds like your room.
Am I on the other mic?
I could be wrong. What do you think, Jonathan?
That sounds pretty. Yeah, it sounds pretty normal to me. There are some background noise.
Maybe it is.
You dummy.
Is it?
Try that.
Man, I got
that's very different.
That's what I'm talking about.
Try that. That was from when we did the stream last week, when it was different.
You sound so much. Well, never mind.
Fuller.
Yeah, I was gonna say, got that sexy voice when you're. That sounds a little weird though.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's fine. You just are more attracted to the bald head. I get it.
No, it just sounds deep. It sounds deeper, man.
Okay. So what was I? Oh, the 380. So Sony was sending that 380 out, and it was supposed to get delivered by 10 a.m. on Friday. And we were finishing getting set up. Nobody was home. So I'm planning to come back and get it, and they don't show up. But then they show up at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon and won't drop it off. They just show up and leave. Then we have the garage open randomly on Sunday, and I'm doing something, and then all of a sudden, it was Monday. It was Monday. On Monday, and then all of a sudden the projector just materializes in my garage. They didn't make me sign anything. They just dropped it off. Like, why did you do that on Friday? And we could have had the projector there on Saturday, but they didn't do that. So then the other problem with them just dropping it off on Monday was I couldn't refuse the delivery and just have it sent back. I had to take it, and then it had to get shipped back. So it was just a pain in the butt. I felt really bad for Sony because that would have been a great addition. And we were trying to get the 95L out there, but it just wasn't ready for prime time because they delayed it. And I talked to Sony and like, we want to, but it's just not quite ready. So that was hopefully next year.
What's that 95L? What's that?
It's the upgrade to the A95K. It's much brighter.
I see.
Much brighter. I wish it could have been there. I've seen it at some tech summits, and it's good.
Yeah,
I think.
So before we jump into comments and answering questions and things, what were the highlights of MWAVE for you this year? So this year looked a lot different than our original year. Last year we were at the lead center. Really cool venue, but definitely had some challenges, and it kind of really limited what we could do in our capacity. And it was definitely a lot more structured. We had time slots for everything and rotated groups of people. And this year we structured it a lot different because we knew we were going to have a lot more people. We had 4 times the amount of people that we had last year. We had 50 people sign up after, like, pay after I had ordered everybody's badges. So we ran out of badges, and I'm giving out pins as their badge. That was kind of wild. I'm like, I said, Ryan, I said, we're getting close to the event. I mean,
Security just had to love us.
yeah.
So we need badges. Well, what if we don't have any badges? But what if we give everybody a pin? I mean,
what he told me is he looked on the table. And he's like, yeah, but you got pins on the table. I said, they're not now. And I scraped them down and put them on. I'll just hand it to him. I said, can that be their badge? He's like, that's cool. I got you.
oh my gosh, I was not aware of this.
Yeah, it was funny, man. But definitely people, they kept registering. Even they would show up and pay right at the door, which was super cool. So I need to plan and prepare for that next year. But the security was very cool, Zombie. Absolutely. So what were your highlights of the show for you? What'd you enjoy the most?
Go ahead, Ryan.
I didn't get to experience very much.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna my highlight was, because I was organizing everything, was just seeing how the comparisons came together.
Mhm.
In particular, the speaker comparison, the subwoofer comparison, and the find the clothes hanger.
Yeah.
Those were my favorite. I knew what was going to happen on most of them, but it was really fun to be able to watch people's reactions, especially people that thought there was going to be this huge difference on cables,
Mhm.
and then watch just the sanity dissipate from their face. Not the sanity, but just the assurity just
The
vanished.
confidence.
Yeah, it looked like a deer in a headlight as soon as things got a little tough. So that was probably my highlight, was seeing all of that come together and actually work and not blow up in my face. So that
You got to go into a little bit. Something about pink noise and the speaker wire. And
oh, it wasn't just that instance. There were several people that thought that, and it was so how that comparison. Well, let me tell you how all these comparisons laid out. So that particular comparison, which is the one we'll start on, find the clothes hanger. I had 4 identical B100s. The B100s were all hooked up to the same amp. They were all being fed by a Buckeye 8-channel NC502 HypeX, and that was being fed by a Storm Audio Mark III ISP. And then all of the speakers were sitting on a Lazy Susan, so I could rotate them and have them in the exact same position. We did this all mono to take imaging out of the equation. We may do stereo somewhat next year, but it just increases complexity a lot, and it actually makes it much more difficult for you to tell the differences between a speaker. Because you're having to deal with a lot more instead of just the speaker at that point. But anyway, I've got 4 identical B100s. The only differentiator in this equation is the cables. Okay, so your 3 cables, I won't name the cables, but there was an $8,000 cable. There was a $1,000 or so cable. There was some very, very nice 14-4 that I twisted together to make just 2 connections. So it was 2 strands of 14 gauge that were twisted together to make 1 connection, and then a coat hanger, like a literal coat hanger. And people were laughing, and they didn't believe me until they looked over and then saw a literal coat hanger,
like sticking in the speaker terminal.
And I tried to make it so jank that there was no question about anything. So the coat hanger wasn't long enough to connect to the amp. So there was a little bit of, I think it was 12 gauge or 14 gauge.
Which is even worse.
I tried, so I connected them.
Together.
They were electrical taped together, and I made it so bad that there was so little speaker wire touching the coat hanger that it should have made it infinitely worse. And then during the second comparison, it was so bad that it wasn't working, and I had to hold it, or it wouldn't work. And people still couldn't figure it out.
That one.
And the funny thing was that the favorite cable, the clothes hanger, actually always ended up in the top 2 out of the 4 cables every time.
Just curious, what did, because I didn't get a chance to be a part of that one. What were they saying? Did they hear something different? Did they think they heard something different?
People thought they heard a difference, but it was very subjective. And one thing that I learned from this year that I'm going to implement last year is I need to play and get very, very short clips
Okay.
and just play the same clip on repeat, going through the same thing so people can hear it.
That
I can
makes
still cycle through it mid clip, but
Yeah.
it's people. One of the complaints they had was it wasn't the same part of the song. So
Sure.
it just got a little
Yeah.
fuzzy
Sure.
because one part could be silent, one part could be something else. So it just increased the potential subjectivity in that because you didn't know if it was changing something or not. And it was just kind of brought in some gray area. So that's something that I need to change next year. But the part that convinced people was we played pink noise.
Hmm.
And if anything is going to change, even minutely,
Yeah.
you will hear it in pink noise.
Interesting.
And people couldn't tell.
Yeah.
And that doesn't matter. Like if I'm playing multiple clips or not, or different parts of a clip, it's pink noise. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing coming off of the storm,
Right.
and they couldn't tell.
Yeah.
So that was the speaker comparison. It was awesome. Then we did the subwoofer comparison.
Yes, I was a part of that one.
The cable comparison. Then we did the subwoofer comparison. I'll talk about the speaker comparison last. The subwoofer comparison, we had seven subs.
I'll
Yep.
find while you're doing that, I'll find a photo.
And remember, all of this stuff, guys, that we're doing, all of these comparisons were blind.
I don't know.
The participants had no idea what they were listening to at all. So everything was behind speaker cloth.
Mhm.
The subs, you had do I want to talk about which ones they are?
I'll tell you,
I think you can list the list of what you
I'll
had.
list the list. So we've got,
put them up there.
in no particular order, I think it was an ELAC 700, I think is the model number. Then you had a Klipsch RP 1600, an Arundel 1723, a Martin Logan 1600X, a SVS PV16, a JTR RS1, and then the GSG Dual 21. Right. So those were the 7 subs.
Did you say Klipsch in there?
I did, the RP 1600.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So they were all backfed to the storm. They were all level matched, and I could cycle through on the storm instantaneously, switching between all of these subs. So I didn't have to unplug anything, connect anything. I could just flip between anything I wanted. They were all level matched to the main listening position. I mean, I couldn't walk around and level match them to everything. So we encourage people to move. Like you start in the front, move to the sides. You start in the front, move to the back. Start in the back, move to the front. We encourage people to move around the rooms because room modes are a thing. SPL is going to be different in different parts of the room. You just need to move because the interaction and the opinion that you have with a sub is going to change based on your position because of all of those things. So that's how it was set up without the speaker cloth up, and nobody could see anything up there. Because the speaker cloth was up there, so they couldn't see any of that stuff.
Yeah, that was all blacked out.
Yep, they had no idea, and it was really interesting how in the subwoofer comparison, how different people's opinions were, and how one person would hate one, and it would be somebody else's favorite. And it was really interesting how that all played out. So a lot of subjectivity in that. But the big surprise to everyone, and I did all of these tests multiple times.
Yeah.
The big surprise to everyone is how well the Klipsch did.
Yeah.
It did very well. Now, I didn't measure it, but people subjectively, blind, mind you, really liked it.
Yeah.
It was.
I kept saying, like, in my notes, because we even went back and forth a couple times. You're like, all right, I just want to see, and you'd switch some stuff up, and every single time I would write, it hit pretty low. Wasn't the loudest sub, but I mean it hit pretty low, but it just sounded really clean. And when compared to certain other subs, the other one sounded almost like bloated. It just didn't sound as. That was the biggest thing. I just kept writing clean, so it was just really, really smooth. But yeah, it was I think it was like the sleeper, you know what I mean? A lot of people didn't expect that.
It did very well. Now, this was just people's subjective opinions. These weren't objective. They weren't measured.
No.
It just, people really liked it. So take that for what it is. It did very well.
So I have a question for you. And I know you had difficulties with room modes and seating placements and all that. And distances were just universally set for all the subs, regardless of where they were. So that can impact it too, which is why you suppose that everyone should be moving around to different seats. Did them and I stuck around to hear a little bit of it, but I didn't hear what the reveal was, and I didn't know which ones were selectively favorite from the audience and stuff because I wasn't in there during that type of voting.
Yeah.
Did the middle subs get favored more than the outside subs, or was there anything that was predictable like that?
No,
The outside subs actually got favored, but it was only on one side.
Interesting.
And
Can you go back to your picture and kind of talk about? Let's look
Sure.
at that compared to what your results were, just out of curiosity.
so
Go
something
here.
interesting that happened at the show, and I feel like I need to point this out, is, and we should have highlighted this a little bit more. People
On the image.
kind of misequated the JT, and this is a subjective opinion, guys. So just this is my opinion from running the tests. Equated the clean sound of the JTR as it being quiet. And then the other thing that happened is when the JTR was able to get really, really low, they equated it to it being distorted. But what I did to show people that was I put it up against another sub, and I won't tell you which one it was. And then I put a pass filter on it so that I would cut out all of the JTR's low frequency. And I could make it sound identical to the other sub at that point. But then when I took the pass filter out, people realized that it wasn't distortion, it was the low frequency. So I guess it could have been the room that they were hearing, but it was, once I did that, people realized that, oh, that isn't bad. It's just the inability of the other sub to get that low. And I think this is part of what people equate to, like, frequencies under 20 or 30 hertz sounding bad. It's just that they equate them to something that they shouldn't, in my opinion. And they were misequating that with JTR, but all it took for me was for me to show them what it was. And they're like, oh, that makes total sense. The JTR is able to show you or replicate audio signals that are in the audio that the other sub's not able to do. So that was really interesting. I don't think there was really any advantage to any of them. Some songs and some audio really played and showcased some of the sub's shortcomings. Like you could hear some boominess, and there were some songs that you could even hear some bottoming out on some drivers. So it was really interesting to go through all of that. But even then, people liked them in all the different positions. It didn't really matter where they were. I think the room was decently large enough that gain wasn't really a big problem.
Yeah, because none of them were up against the wall for sure.
Well, you could have some side low gain or something at some point, but
the songs that you selected, and I wasn't in there that terribly long in that particular room. Did you purposely pick content that had deep digging notes, like anything in 16 hertz or 20 hertz or
so
like
I
pipe
played
organ type stuff?
I played some stuff that got down very, very low and some different types of things. So there was electronic, there was male vocal, there was acoustic bass, there was all different kinds of stuff.
Some hard rock that was really fast, like a double kick drum, like pretty fast.
So I tried to hit things that were in multiple frequency ranges, and certain subs excelled at certain things, and some of them fell flat on their face in certain things. And it was really interesting to hear people talk about, well, this was my favorite, and then you played that song, and now it sucks. So it was it was pretty eye-opening for a lot of people. The GSG I kind of felt bad about because the GSG really needed some DSP. It was struggling without any DSP, just sitting up there raw. But I didn't EQ any of the subs, and if I were to EQ it, I felt like I would be imparting a bias at that point. But maybe I was imparting a bias without giving it DSP. I don't know.
And I think the key is number one, this is not a scientific experiment.
Exactly. Just for fun.
Having some fun, checking out some things. If anything, it was really interesting just to move from seat to seat to see how the room modes impact what you hear and what you experience in a subwoofer. So that's why we always stress, if you can get multiple subwoofers in your room, you'll get better seat to seat response. And that's why in Perlison's room, they had 7 subwoofers in that room because they wanted, they had like 15 seats that they wanted pretty much everybody to get a really good response and get a solid bass response. And so that was a cool experiment there. And then just removing the bias and not knowing what you're hearing, that was also really cool because I've never done that. And pretty much everybody in that room, except for maybe you guys, most of us had never been a part of anything like that. So again, it was just a cool experience that really you just can't get anywhere else. So
was it numbered? Because I wrote notes on what I liked in my little short session. I just didn't hear the reveal. For my own benefit, was it left to right 1 through 7, or was it right to left 1 through 7, or was it not numbered like that?
Let me see. I'll take a look.
So which one did you like?
I have to look again, but I think that I liked, if I remember right, I liked 5 a little bit.
Okay, subwoofer comparison. So number 1 was GSG.
Yeah, but I kept changing it. It wasn't always the same, Michael.
Okay.
Because I didn't
know what time
some
I was in
people
there then.
some people kept staying in there, and I would have to keep changing it. Otherwise,
Okay.
they would see a reveal, and then they'd
So
want to
when
stay to see if it stayed the same. So I would change it.
Okay.
Correct.
I
So
got
there's
you.
no way to tell which way that was, but
Okay.
every sub, Jonathan, at one point was probably number 5.
Okay. Yeah, well then that won't help. I did take some notes, but I was getting to talking and I had to leave before you guys did the reveal on the section.
Yeah. So we'll probably do this again. I mean, I have the tools to be able to do it, so we need to do it again.
Yeah, it was really, really fun. Like I said, it was just quite interesting for sure.
I wanna emphasize just a little bit more, and you've already said it and you haven't said anything wrong. But this was more, it has to be known this is just more for fun, because if you're really trying to do a subwoofer comparison, they need to be in the exact same place. The distances need to be set accordingly.
Yep.
Because if you move a subwoofer, and these guys know this, I'm just making sure the audience knows this.
Okay.
Yeah, correct.
If you move a subwoofer 3 feet to the right in a room like this, and you don't change distances or integrate with the phase, you're going to get a completely different frequency response in the same seat. So again, that's why they were saying, hey, average your votes between like 3 or 4 different seats.
Yep.
And that will help you have a more, a fair view of what you're listening to. But if you're just in one seat, you literally can't make a decision on which sub you like the best. It's not a fair comparison, but it's just for fun.
Yep.
Exactly. Like I said, it's not a scientific experiment. But when you've got a speaker that weighs a couple 100 pounds, another one weighs 100 pounds, one weighs 175 pounds.
Yeah,
that's quite challenging to figure out a way to be able to do that. Unless
I can do it. I have to build we have to build a sled.
That, or you could do like you could take the 2 or 3 winners, and they might be close enough proximity to do like 2 or 3 right next to each other, just butt it up. It's not perfect, but you
I just
narrow the gap.
I just need to make a sled.
Yeah,
is what needs to happen.
So if you make a sled, are you going to be able to change those quick enough for people to? Because one part of this is being able to fast switch between.
They won't be able to see. I mean, we did it on the speaker comparison, and it was fast enough.
Okay. Yeah.
It would have to be decently quick. Just put them on we could figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. So then the last thing was the speaker comparison. And this was more scientific. This was because every speaker was in the, can you show that picture, Michael? Every speaker was in the exact same position. And it was really just down to, they were all level matched. It was just, and I put a pass filter on them, so none of them were able to play below 75 hertz. They were all brick walled at about 75 hertz. And I did that because we've all found from us that have done these comparisons before, you will typically subjectively like the one that plays the lowest. So I brick walled them because, as you can see, the Arundel is significantly larger. And its ability to be able to play lower, more than likely, is significantly increased. So we brick walled them in order to figure out which one you liked the best. And was that the right decision? I don't know, but it's what we did. So Bob, the man that did a lot for this event, ran the Room EQ room, built this Lazy Susan, and we were able to turn it so that we could have the speaker, each individual speaker, in the exact same position as the one before it. And it allowed it.
That was super cool.
Yeah,
it was. Like that's the way it should be. And I love how we did one speaker instead of 2.
Yeah.
Because if you do 2, then you've got some speakers image better than others. So just having a mono speaker, that was really cool.
Yep. So we did that. All of them were level matched, brick walled, and it was really interesting for people. This was a VIP only event, but I think it was really interesting, and some of the results surprised people. Do I even still have those? I don't know that I still have them.
I didn't listen to the whole thing. I was kind of popping in and out during that. So I don't have a lot of thoughts on that. I do remember hearing one speaker, and I just, like, you were switching between a couple, and I found out later which one it was. And definitely really enjoyed the sound of that one.
Mm-hmm.
It's the
I don't
Martin
think I
Logan.
still have those notes. I think they're gone. But
So I
it was
didn't
really
participate in this one.
interesting.
Was there a huge difference between them as they switched, or was it kind of like flavors?
I
of the
didn't get to.
same?
I didn't get to sit out in the front, so I don't
It
know.
was
I just heard them all
I'll be
back.
honest,
I
it
heard.
was harder
I
for
heard all
me.
the ports. Is what I ended up hearing.
It was harder for
There
me. I know a
ports,
couple of
but
they would switch, and I'm like, I don't know, you know.
Mhm.
I just
there was
love the
something there. There was something there because there were a few of were unanimous
Mhm.
in winners. So, is my audio still okay? I see my video kind of stuttering.
You were cutting out a little bit,
Yeah.
but you're okay right now.
You're good. Yeah, the audio is
Okay.
good.
So, there were a few, especially in round one, that were unanimously the favorites.
Mhm.
Some
Yeah.
of them, I don't think any speaker got 0.
Mhm.
The other 4.
Is this by show of hands, or how did you do the
This is
voting?
by a show of hands. So I had people pick their top 3, I think is what we did.
Mhm.
Their top 3. And just through a show of hands. And the winners were of the first round were Martin Logan, SVS, and Arundel. Martin Logan and SVS dominated without question. The Martin Logan won by, I think, 5 or 6 votes in round 1. It was really because thing that I heard from people was many people thought the Martin Logan sounded the most neutral, even though historically the thought has been that the Martin Logan is a little bit bright. Now I haven't measured this particular speaker, so I don't know, but they thought it sounded the most neutral. So there was that. And all 3 of those speakers had a considerable gap against everything else. So the speakers that were involved in this, go ahead.
Aaron's Audio Corner measured these before, at least some of them, right?
I didn't. He hasn't sent me the results. He had some stuff come
That'll
up.
be interesting to
I
see how that
gotten.
aligns with the people's perspectives.
Yeah. So the speakers that were involved were the Klipsch 600 M2, the Polk R200, the Arundel 1723 monitor, the SVS Ultra, the Martin Logan B100, the Revel M105.
Did you have an ELAC?
No. Okay. What was the last one?
I'm trying to see.
What was the last one? Polk, Martin Logan, Klipsch, Arundel, SVS. Oh, JBL HDI 1600.
Okay.
No
per-listen.
Mark, we didn't do the per-listen because we felt like it was outside of the price range. We may do it next year. Arundel we threw in there because a lot of people talk about the Arundel, and we wanted to throw it in there because it keeps coming up. So we wanted to put it in there. Yep, every live stream. So we threw it in there. Then we did a second round, just between the Martin Logan, the SVS, and the Arundel. And I think it was the same results, with the exception that the SVS and the Martin Logan the results were near indistinguishable above the Arundel. So they effectively came in third, is what ended up happening. And reminder that all of these were blind, all using the same amp, all using the same all firing through the same speaker cloth in the exact same position at the exact same SPL with a brick wall at 75 hertz. So there really should be no discernible difference in that regard.
How many
it just
people
comes
were
down
voting?
to how 30 or 40.
Yeah.
So one thing people did note about the Martin Logan is that if they sat off axis, they didn't like it. If they were on axis, it was their favorite. With the people that said that. That wasn't universal. That was just what people said.
So it seems statistically you have enough votes to kind of draw some conclusions. I wonder, it might be interesting to look at dispersion patterns and see if people, because it's a broader audience, if that played into it at all, if the narrower speakers were higher rated than the wider
we'll have
speakers.
I think it'd be interesting to do this in the Kansas City group. That wasn't something I'd thought about. We were running out of time. And to be frank, I wanted to go home.
I hear you.
I was
tired, dude.
I was tired, but it was very interesting.
That is super interesting.
What's the price difference between the SVS, the Martin Logan, and the Arundel? I think The SVS and the Martin Logan are pretty similar, I think. What's the MSRP of the SVS Ultra?
SVS Ultra bookshelf. We're looking at so those are $600 each, so $1,200.
Yeah, and then the Martin Logans are $799 each. So,
and then the Arundel
too horrible, and then the Arundel I think is like $1,200 or $1,300 a piece.
monitor,
like
and
that.
you're asking the Arundels that we had was the 1723 monitor THX.
Yes,
and
THX,
those
not the S, it's the normal one.
Right, it's not the smaller. So those are $2,500 a pair. So.
Mm-hmm. What SPL were they matched at? 75.
And then what main listing volume were you at? So you did your test on 75. What were you listing at? -10, -15, like reference?
I don't honestly remember. It wasn't that loud. I want to say we were -10, I think is where we were.
The speaker should have remained pretty clean at that volume. You didn't hear any distortion or anything out of any of them?
No. That wasn't high enough to cause any type of distortion. Next year, would I do all towers? Maybe. I might do that. But I don't know that it necessarily changes a whole lot because I'm still going to brick wall them. I'm not going to play them down as far because you just...
The one that has the most bass is going to be the preferred.
Correct.
Typically.
Yes.
When you're saying brick wall, were you playing like a 48 dB per octave filter on it, or what's your brick wall? How are you defining that?
That's exactly what I did. I put a 48 dB per octave filter on it at 75 hertz and just fell off.
Okay.
That's funny.
Anything else that came up from that? We tried to do the tactile, and the people that got to do it felt it was very informative.
Mm-hmm.
We could only do a couple groups though because we had a pre-pro break and they had to steal mine.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever figure out the problem with that, or is it just unknown?
It was a lot of these guys don't take any of that as a bad omen on a manufacturer. I mean, this gear is demo gear for what a lot of these manufacturers use, and it just gets the hell beat out of it in shipping. I mean, it gets the crap and the snot kicked out of it. So and a lot of them are our pre-production models and stuff like that. So don't draw any conclusions based on like if some stuff failed or if it didn't, because it really doesn't mean anything. It probably just had some shipping damage, finally let go. Every manufacturer's had problems.
You can see in this room, we had the speaker comparison behind the acoustic transparent screen. We had black cloth across the front, hiding the subwoofers.
Screen left though. The screen was taken out. The screen was taken out and it went to the seminar room. So we just had 2 layers of speaker cloths. You couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
And then we dimmed the lights at the back so you couldn't see any of the shadows.
Yeah. So you can see the 4 Valencia seats on the far right. It was going to be like a Boss platform. And then 2 seats over, you see the big subwoofer behind the, I guess that'd be the second from the left Valencia seat. That is a 24-inch. Was that GSG? I think it was a GSG sub that Kyle brought, maybe?
I don't know.
I bet it was.
I don't know. I think it was.
Was that a row 1 seat or is that Valencia?
No, they're all Valencia.
Okay.
So Valencia sent us
4. So you've got an Oslo, you've got a Barcelona, you got a Naples, and a Tuscany. Or the 4 seats.
Yeah.
If anybody wants them, I still have all 4.
Yeah.
And I made a video on that too, just kind of give you some ideas of because everybody's heard what I think about them. And so I thought it'd be kind of cool to get some people that were sitting in them. And what was funny is Rusty was in one of the chairs and he's like, I bought these last year and I sat in it, loved it, ended up going home buying 3 more for his room.
Yep.
And so it was cool just hearing what people thought about the different models because some of them are short. Some of them have the low headrest, which is kind of cool. So it's a GSG box, SI sub. Okay, gotcha.
I mean, you should know. He probably
near field, behind it.
Yep. So we did the Boss platform, near field, and then the far left one actually has Valencia tactile transducers. So they now sell those as a kit. And honestly, I don't know how much y'all had a chance to do the comparison, but I think I don't know if it was you, Ryan, or somebody else, but they were saying like it actually was pretty decent. I wasn't really expecting much, to be honest with you. because
The
they're not
part
in the
that I
tactile.
don't know though is I don't know how far down in the frequency range those tactile transducers can get.
Sure. Yeah.
What kind
So
of, did you look at them, Ryan? What kind of design are they? Are they like a piston throw or
They're
like
a
a
puck.
car?
So
what?
kind of like an aura shaker, like
Oh,
the thinner
Yeah.
ones. They're not
Okay.
like a piston. They're like a puck. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I'd have to open it up and see what the inside looks like. I don't know, but they did pretty well. I mean, for what they are, and they came with like a mounting bracket and everything. So they're great. I mean, they're designed to fit on those chairs, which Jonathan, you know as well
Pain
as
in the
I
butt.
that they're
Yeah.
a pain in the butt to fit
try to figure out where to
transducers
go.
underneath those metal frame seats.
Mhm.
Especially things the size of like a butt kicker advance.
Right.
which
And
is
when the
what a lot
recline
of us
mechanism
use.
is constantly trying to touch every area in the space. Yeah. It's
Mhm.
nice to have a small one for that purpose.
Yep. Yeah. But they did pretty well for as small as they are. And, Valencia sells them. They don't list them on their website. I guess maybe they're a dealer only thing. So if you want them, let me know. But they did really well and they were super easy to install.
Yeah. So I would imagine they try to sell it with the chairs, like because you can add it to some of their chairs on their website.
No.
I just don't know if you can buy them separately.
Oh, well, maybe you can. They sent me in a box and they had their own packaging, so I'd assume you can.
Yeah, but I'm saying like on their website, I don't think they just sell them separately.
Oh, maybe not.
I think it's like a drop down menu when you buy this chair. It
Mm.
says, hey, do you want to add tactile transducers to it? And then they ship them to you.
That may be the case.
Yep. So that was super cool. So we had a bunch of different room corrections. Comparisons. We also had the EQ comparison. I didn't get a chance to do that. Bob was in charge of that. Did either of you get a chance to pop in there?
I did. And that was probably my favorite room just because I like that kind of stuff. And you guys did a knockout job on getting that processor set up to do the quick switching. That was incredible. I still don't really understand how you do it. So I want to pick your brain sometime. That was a great way to do it. You had 7.2, two subs, 2 stacks of subs, 4 subs, and then 4 ceiling speakers. And they could do a quick switching. It's like as fast as you wanted to push it, switch between 4 different processors. And then I wasn't in that room for a terribly long time, maybe 45 minutes. I would have liked to be in there more. We did a little bit of demonstration with the little 4 different auto EQs, some music listening. I wasn't in there for any movie clips when I was listening, but it was music comparison. And then after the people, when I was in there, I was surprised at how close those auto EQ processes were for the music. And I think that was kind of the overlying sentiment in the little section that I was in, was that they were more alike than different. And that wasn't my experience in our 2014 auto EQ comparison, where they were vastly different. In fact, one of the auto EQ processors of that time frame made my speaker sound blown, like they sounded just dramatically different. But these in that giant room, they maybe didn't have a whole lot to correct. They did a great job. We had a little bit of fun afterwards. The Marantz sound, and we kind of talked about this with Sheldon earlier this week when we were talking about our MWAVE experience. The Marantz processors have a DAC that you can turn on and off, and that DAC filter is just one setting is for like benchmarking. It disables the Marantz sound, and the other DAC setting is the Marantz sound. And for years, you've read about on the forums that the Marantz sound is worth paying the extra money for over Denon because it's like a warmer sound and it's more enjoyable for music, and it's definitely worth it. In my own room, I've been playing with it a lot. I can't tell that much difference. It's very subtle. It's like one of those things where if you leave the room and came back in, you probably wouldn't know. Well, I wanted to see if it sounded different in this room and with a greater audience to kind of do the comparison too. So Bob started switching the Marantz stack on and off on just the Marantz, and we were doing comparison with different types of music. And he would say, switch, switch, switch. And over the course of the listening session there for 10 minutes or so, we were doing that. People started kind of cementing opinions, like I like it on or I like it off or whatever. But it was so subtle, I was never really sure if people were hearing what they thought they were hearing.
Okay.
So I went over to Bob and I said, I whispered and I said, hey, just say you're changing it, but stop changing it. And
Nice.
and we did that for auto EQ and we did it for Marantz. The other thing Bob did is when he was switching the thing, we all were looking forward. So he's behind us. Okay. He said, you guys raise your hand when you hear the switch happen. And this is on the Marantz stack. So he's playing for like a minute or two and nobody's raising their hand. We're all like kind of unsure. Well, one guy raises his hand and I'm kind of like thinking, well, maybe I heard it. So a few seconds later, I raise my hand and then the hands start kind of going up. So it was like a minute or two or no hands. And then we're kind of start regularly doing it. Well, Bob stops it after about 3 minutes, and he just starts laughing, and he says,
I didn't change nothing.
Look, you guys, for the first couple minutes of this thing, I was switching it like every 8 seconds, and you guys never raised your hands once. And then somebody came up and started talking to me in the back of the room, and so I stopped switching it because I was distracted. And that's when you guys started raising your hand. Only after I stopped switching it were you guys raising your hand. So we were all like, "Oh man!" And I'm as guilty as everybody else. It's so hard to tell.
That's why we do these shows.
Yeah,
just for that reason.
So I want to give a big shout out to Haterade Cowboy. So this is his video that I'm showing here. So definitely go check out his channel. He's got a tour. You kind of see this whole room there. We had, was it 7 Martin Logan F200s as a bed layer, I believe?
Yes. So the speakers in this room were 7 Martin Logan F200s, 6.
You see the 3 up front.
No. 4
up top.
Sistines up top. And then 4 JTR sub 18s.
Yep, you can see those up front. So cool setup. So
so we got to also hear Dirac art on and off in that room, and the audience feedback on that was that it was a pretty subtle difference, and that the main thing seemed to be if there was any calling card that we could kind of hear, it might have been that there was a little less like extended bass or maybe ringing of bass. Not that it sounded bad without. But with art engaged, it seemed like the bass was cut off a little quicker, perhaps, than with off. But it was, again, very subtle. Maybe not something you'd even notice if you left the room and weren't sure which one was playing. But when you're doing immediate switching, maybe you could kind of pick that out. That was kind of the feedback that the room was laying out.
Well, cool. So you can see that video there. So just want to give you a visual. So appreciate you, Jordan. I was pausing it so I don't get a copyright strike.
A smart idea.
I don't think I would, but yeah, he's been doing vlog kind of style. So that's cool. I wish I would have got a chance to get in that. I didn't get a chance to be in there last year or this year.
Well, hopefully we'll get to do it next year.
Yeah.
Some of the guys were saying on the auto EQ comparison that in the movie content, when there was voices, they sounded more different than the music. So I didn't hear that. I don't know, but that was just some of the feedback I heard from the other guys that were in the room.
That could have been due to crossovers.
Jordan is in the house, man. Appreciate it, Jordan. I just shared a clip of your video. So
did you guys just let the crossovers be whatever the auto EQ set them to?
So it was, I would imagine so.
Standardized.
No, they would. You're introducing subjectivity at that point. I mean, at what point do you stop then? I mean, it's you could, if you change the crossover, invariably make one sound a lot better and make one sound worse. So it
just let it run.
Yeah, we just kind of let it go. We're learning a lot from these. I mean, next year with the venues that I'm talking to, which I guess we can transition into the talking about that.
Sure.
The venue that I'm talking to, I love the venue we were at. They were hugely helpful. The staff was amazing. The problem with it though is the rooms are too big.
Yeah, they're massive.
So I loved that the rooms were separate. I loved that the rooms didn't really bleed into each other, which was amazing.
Except for the low bass.
They did a little bit, but you really couldn't hear that bass out in the hallways, which was really cool.
They did a great job with it overall.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be just nuts.
I did too. The vendors loved it because they didn't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
But next year we're talking to a couple hotels. So we're going to have the ability to have some bigger rooms for the theaters and then be able to create smaller rooms for anything that may need it because we have the access, like what Exponent does with hotel rooms and things like that. So we're not expecting these like 2-channel experiences or whatever to have to be in these huge, enormous rooms. They can be in smaller rooms and then we can treat if needed or put up pipe and drape and all that stuff. So that's where I think we're going. Hopefully we'll have more information on that this week. I'm supposed to hear back from a couple of hotels this week on more information. Staying in Kansas City because it's just very difficult for me to organize things outside of my home city. It's easier for me to keep tabs on everything and help the vendors and the venue out if need be. So it's staying here for all of you that wonder why we don't do it in other places of the country. It's because that would be a huge pain in the butt.
That blows me away. I can't tell you how many people say, man, you think you could bring it over here to the West Coast? Do you think you could bring it to the East Coast? How about I'm up here in Maine? Could you bring it up here? And I'm thinking, man, it is so much cheaper and so much easier for you to jump on a flight and come to us than us to back up this whole thing and move it near you. And like Ryan said, a lot of this stuff was staged at his house and his mother-in-law's house, which is a couple doors down.
I'm not doing that again.
Yeah, but it's one of those things that you physically.
We're too big. I can't do it.
That was a mess. I'll be
It,
honest.
well, it was. It
Yeah.
wasn't really a mess. It was just a lot of work. Like things went pretty seamlessly when you think about it. It went really smooth. The whole event went really smooth. There really weren't any huge
Parking is
problems.
difficult. Yeah, parking's not
So
amazing.
one of the venues that I'm talking to is they said they could probably throw in just free parking for everybody. So that was big.
Oh, that's cool.
That was
I like
big.
that. Yeah.
To the numbers you're talking about, because you're talking about
potentially. I can't
1,000 cars
I can't
next year.
guarantee that it would be for everybody, but for a good point of it, yes. And then the other advantage, since it's at a hotel, and this is something that Michael and I really, really want, is people would be able to stay at the venue. So even when the event's over, and I told them, because the hotels we're looking at have large bars, that you guys keep these open because people will be here.
Absolutely.
Like this is, you guys will make revenue because people will stay here. And we want, as terrible as this sounds, we want a captive audience. I don't want people to leave, because when you're there, you're building relationships, you're building the communities that we want.
It's going to be a lock-in. You come in, you
can't
go
leave
until Sunday afternoon.
For sure.
Didn't bring food. Sorry, you're going to starve. So that's where we're looking right now. But I'm not doing. We're too big now for me to organize the shipping and stuff. So we got to do some deerage and.
And again, year one was more proof of concept, and some people equated it. They were like, year one was great, and I agree, it was phenomenal. But it was kind of more like a bunch of dudes getting together, just doing some cool stuff, speaker comparisons and listening to different things, and having some, side-by-side comparisons. But transition to MWAVE 2023, and we just got so much feedback. Like, this was legit. Like, this is a show. And so that's kind of the direction I did, definitely, man. It's kind of like, I equate MWAVE to, like, I don't know, summer camp for adults, man. I want to have fun. And that's the other thing. It's not just about speakers. It's not just about subwoofers and experiences, but it's about relationships. And I'm really, really, really big on that, because that is one of the key things I think that's missing from a lot of shows out there. And so we want to kind of create that and cultivate that. And I've got some ideas for next year that'll really take that to a next level. And one thing that I love is that we had a group last year that found out that there were other people in their area, and they went back home, and they have literally met every single month since MWAVE 2022. And they're continuing to meet now. They just go from home to home like you do in Kansas City, and they're building community. And so I've got some ideas next year on how we can continue to grow that and hopefully help build some of those communities even in your area. Because one of the big things I'm finding in home theater, and I mentioned it in one of my videos, is that it's kind of lonely in a way, because you guys are blessed. Y'all don't understand how incredibly blessed you are that you've got such a great community in Kansas City. We don't have that in Florida.
Depends on what you mean by blessed. We do really have a negative impact on each other's wallet.
You do, but you still have that community that most places don't have. A lot of guys come to the show and they're like, Michael, I don't know anybody that's in the home theater. And that's why I'm here. I want to meet some people. I want to hang out. I want to connect. And that is so refreshing to me, seeing you hanging out, going out to eat, grabbing lunch with people that you've never met up until this point, and you're building community and building relationships. So home theater summer camp win. I love it, dude. Too funny. This is Ed. Appreciate the $5 super chat. Want to add surrounds Atmos limited to in ceiling and living room LCR at ear level. What configuration would you recommend? 7.1.2, 5.1.4, 9.1, or something else? So he wants to add Atmos.
So is he saying that all of his speakers but his LCR are in the ceiling?
No, he's just saying he's limited to in-ceiling speakers at top and LCR or ear level.
Yeah, they're at the front.
I think look at the thing, it's got 9 speakers. What do you recommend? 7.1, 7.2, 5.4, or 9.1?
Well, I think what he's saying is he has LCR up front, but all of the speakers he can add are going to be in ceiling.
Yeah, because he says surround. He needs to add surrounds and Atmos, but he's got to do in ceiling.
Ed, you might clarify your question. Are you asking which config we would go with 9 speakers? Or are you asking a specific speaker question?
Yeah, because one thing about that, if you're trying to put surrounds and Atmos in the ceiling, that's not going to work because there's no separation from there. Now, if you can do your surrounds as maybe in walls, if you can't go with like bookshelves or towers, that would give you some separation, but you're not going to get Atmos, like true Atmos, if you've got to put 4 surrounds in the ceiling and then 2 Atmos or 4 Atmos. That just isn't going to work. Maybe give us some clarification. He says, yes, LCR's ear level can only add in ceiling.
So no rears, no surrounds?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm guessing you're probably just going to end up with a 7.1, but your in ceilings are going to be your surrounds, like side surrounds and rear surrounds, you think?
Yes. You could.
That's all
It'll do okay with angled drivers. Don't do down firing. It won't work well then. You could do it okay with angled drivers.
Yeah.
I've heard there's a local guy in Kansas City who has his rear surrounds in the ceiling. I haven't heard like a mixture, I don't think, of Atmos in the ceiling and rears in the ceiling. I'm not sure how that'd work.
Yeah, I don't think it can.
Your channel separation's not large enough. So if you do it, I highly recommend you do angled drivers, angled back towards the main listening position, wherever they're sitting. And I would not do Atmos or any type of top or height. Just do the surrounds. It's not worth it.
Well, here's the thing. If you're going to place those things up there, they're probably going to be in a pretty similar position for the rears or the rear heights because of your room layout. You could try it, wire it up to different outputs on your receiver and just see which way you like it. Assuming you have a single row and the rear speakers, because you're having them in ceiling, will be behind your chair. And if they're rear ceiling, they'll be behind your chair. You could just wire them both ways and see which way you like.
That's true. I think in this case, though, less is more.
Yeah. I think you can. I just don't think you're going to be able to do surrounds and Atmos if they're all on the same plane. They really need to have some separation in order to create that bubble effect and really get that immersive experience, so to speak. So Austin mentions, he says, community is a big part of MWAVE, but even motivation to spend time in the hobby. I haven't stopped tinkering since I got home, taping off my room right now for a project. Awesome, man. So there was a question that came.
Wives everywhere hate us.
Nah. Brian Fellers, he says, one thing that might be helpful on building community, what about putting the city state on the badges? Maybe that can be a conversation starter and an easy way to find people near you. That is 100% already on my notes. One thing I did this year is as we were going through the event, anytime something like that popped up or somebody mentioned something, I've got a ton of notes for next year. And that was one of the things, because I've even got an activity that we'll do at the very first night when we do the main keynote that night to help cultivate that and help you figure out, are there other people in my area?
Youth camp coming to MWAVE.
So we will definitely be doing that next year. And he's talking about the name and Baptist Place. Yep. 100%. But yeah, that is definitely on my list. That will, and basically what I'll have to do, because if I use the same badge system, I don't have one. We have 4, like think of a spreadsheet. I have 4 columns. So this year, one was first name, one was second name, or first name, last name, your screen name online, if like AVS forum. And then the last one was whether you're a 3-day attendee, a Sunday only, Saturday only vendor, VIP, and so forth. So in order to do that and add the state, what I'll probably do is that your first name, it'll just be first name and then the first initial of your last name. So that'll be the first one. Then I'll have maybe your AVS name underneath that. And then the third option I'll have is the state that you're in. And then we'll have the last one will be, what type of attendee you are. So, yep. So that is a great one. Yep, Michael, we'll do that just for you. I'll add those for my notes. On July 15th weekend, anniversary blocked me from going.
I think the better option is for you to get your wife to come as an anniversary trip.
There you go. Do you realize how many women and couples were there and that was super.
You
super
realize
cool.
how many women enjoyed the show?
Yeah,
Mainly because of my bald head, but you know how many women enjoyed the show?
It was cool, man.
I think you guys might be overselling that a little bit. I saw about 3 gals there, unless you're talking about the Comic Con that was next
No,
door.
I saw several couples that came through.
True.
I got an interview. I mean, it wasn't like massive numbers,
No.
but there was probably 10. Am I stretching?
I think you might be exaggerating a little bit. I really saw about 3, but I might not have seen them all.
Okay, I don't know.
Hey, 3's better than 0.
Yeah, true.
We had 1 last year, so
And she was there working.
yeah, that comic. It wasn't Comic-Con. It was
Collectible con or something like that.
Collecticon. There's some weird, crazy stuff.
Yeah, there's some stuff that made me kind of embarrassed to look that direction.
Yeah, true.
They were having fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Okay, so Haterade saw 3 to 4 couples, so good deal. But yeah, Collecticon.
I saw a few where the women were more into it than the men.
Yeah.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have names?
Master
No.
Juan. The hard thing with doing different colored badges is, just think of it this way. I would just have to do a bunch of different orders. So I'd have to do one order. And then it gets even complicated because I'm trying to wait till the last minute to order them so that as many people get badges as possible. And then I just print a bunch of blank ones, and then you write your name on Sharpie if you attend or if you purchase a ticket, like say within the last 2 weeks or at the show. So it just makes it harder to do that, to be able to make badges different. Really, I just have the ability to make those 4 fields different. It's just text. So
Collecticon, he says.
yeah, Collecticon. So I think it was almost like, think of anime, and I'm wanting to say maybe it's even like they literally are collecting and sharing cards, kind of like Pokemon cards. So something like that. But all right, well, we got some questions, comments. Let's go through these super quick. Youth Man, I don't know how you're doing it. I'm still trying to catch up from traveling last week. Honestly, I feel good, but man, it hits me. Sometimes earlier today, I was just dragging butt, and I said, Jessica, I just need to go to sleep. But like now, I'm pumped up. I'm good to go. So I'll be up late tonight editing a video for tomorrow, hopefully. Zombie says, thanks for the fun show. The SVS guys rocked it Saturday. And that was great to see them, because the first year we had really high expensive stuff. And this year I wanted to bring some brands in that are much more affordable. And SVS, they didn't even bring their top tier stuff. They brought the Prime Pinnacles, which shows you what you can get in a very budget friendly home theater. And they killed it. They had a great setup. And so we realized not everybody's got tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars to build a theater. And so you can still get a great sound even with some very affordable products.
I second that before we move on, because that's such an important thing.
Yeah, hit it.
The SVS show said that their room costs $10,400, like for the full speaker setup. And they said if you don't get the PB16s that are on the sides and you step down to like one of our SB1000 or SB2000 lines, you can get it down to like $6,400. And if you don't need the Prime Pinnacle and you just want the Prime, you can get it down further. And they were trying to advertise that their rooms for the everyman. And it really sounded good. It really sounded good and balanced. And I'm not saying that in some sort of like fluffy complimented way. No, it sounded good. It was an enjoyable experience to be in there listening. And I thought they had a good message there. And we kind of have talked about them in the past. Like, why don't they have a Pinnacle sub anymore? Why don't they have a, like a master sub that rules all the other subs on the market? And they just spoke to it there. They said that's not their focus. Their focus as a company is to make subs, home theaters experience accessible to people.
That's correct.
And so our speakers are not huge. We're trying to make them so they fit in your room and don't, take over the room, and that they have a nice big sound that kind of belies their size. And they really did a good job. I was really impressed with the room. They put on a good show.
Yeah. I thought it was an awesome experience, and since the show, my room has doubled in quality thanks to Ryan. So Joe took advantage of some of those deals at MWAVE. 100%, Lewicki. So we definitely need volunteers for 2024. So we'll have a volunteer form on the website. Actually, it's already up, but we'll have some specific areas. So we're definitely going to need some volunteers to help out, because the reality is we just can't do this by ourselves. There's no way.
Can you imagine if we did this by ourselves? We'd still be there.
Yeah. Even think about it. Even year one, we basically said, hey guys, if you can help out before, that'd be great.
The show
And then
would have never opened.
And then at the end of the show, we're like, hey, if anybody has even an hour to spare that can help us tear down. And it was so cool, man. The community came together and they just knocked it out. And then we fed them. And I think we went back to your house and did some demos for them as a thank you. But the community is one of the best parts from MWAVE. I'm super, super grateful. But yeah, definitely we'll need some volunteers. So, and I've got some ideas on that as well, just as a way of saying thank you. Oh yeah, it says the only SVS Ultra speaker active in the room was the center channel. Everything else was Prime Pinnacle.
Yeah.
So I guess except for the subwoofer, but that's not really a speaker. But yeah, for sure. I'll book a plane ticket if I can pitch a tent in your yard. Hey, it might be a thing. All right, let's keep going here. All right, have any of you been to an audio video show abroad? Ryan, I know you have.
I've been to ISE. It's not really any different.
Is that considered Munich?
No, it was in Barcelona.
You didn't go to
Munich's
Munich?
different. Munich is, I want to say more. I want to say it's more like audiophile based kind of thing. ISE is more of the counterpart to Cedia.
Mm.
It was very similar. ISE is actually bigger than Cedia.
Yeah, I heard it's pretty huge.
It is large.
I've been told ISE is like the show. It's massive.
It is. It's probably double. But a big part of it is there's a lot of things I think that are not AV centric there. So take that for what it is. But it was cool. I mean, it was very similar. Yeah.
Lil Wiki says, did any Canadians make it to MWAVE? They actually did. We had a gentleman come from Vancouver, Canada. And then we had 1 or 2 people come from Hawaii. So that was the furthest that we knew that people traveled. So that was really neat. Fencer says, intrigued by the SI subs after all the MWAVE content. Would you recommend 2 HST18s or 2 HT18 V3s? And would it be best placed in the GSG sealed or porta box? Wow, a lot of questions here. Also, what external amp would you recommend? Man, that's a lot to unpack. Kyle is probably the most knowledgeable, I would think. He's probably even had quite a few of those models in his.
I would say it's probably down to what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
Are you trying to go output or go deeper?
Depth, yeah.
Jonathan, do you know anything about those drivers?
Yeah, the HST18 is a beastie big X Max driver, and the 18 V3 is kind of like what Sheldon has in his room, and there's no problem with either of those drivers. They're both very good. What are the HST18s are probably double the cost or something. Let me look that up real quick. So the HT18s are about a couple $100. Let me see what the HST18s are.
If I were in your position, I would probably put the HST18s in sealed boxes. They're a lot smaller. When you start having to get into ports, your boxes have to get exponentially larger.
Yeah. Kyle says HT18 V3 best in the sealed.
That HST18 is $1,000 driver.
Wow.
So you could literally get 5 to 1. And I guarantee you that 5 of those smaller ones are going to outperform awesome. One of the HST18s. But if you don't have room for, if you're looking at, here, let's just put it apples to apples. If you're looking at spending 2 of those HST18s, you're looking at $2,000.
Right.
You could get 10 of the HT18 V3s. 10 are going to outperform those HST all day long. You're going to have better uniformity of room across room. But if you can't afford the space for that many boxes, your mind is already made. Both great choices. I know some people who have that HTV3, probably like a half dozen people have that. And I only know of one guy in the forums that has the HST18, but I've heard good things about both those drivers.
Nice. Very good. All right. Let's see. Fencer says could keep my 2 PB3000s as rears, possibly stack them, which can run sealed if needed to match. I guess his room is 15 by 25 theater area, but open plan 20 by 35 basement.
What are you matching them with?
That's a big area to fill with 2 PB3000, I would think.
Well, he's
combining those with
saying
something
that
else?
he's going to be adding more subs, but he doesn't say what they are.
Okay.
Because he says, could I keep my PB3000s as rears? And then that infers that he's adding other subs since he's moving those.
Yeah.
Depends on what the other subs are.
Okay.
Potentially.
Yep. Sure. Let's see. Bruce says, were the three of you a little surprised by the Klipsch RP 1600, or was it disappointing? Definitely was not disappointing. It was a fan favorite. I was rooting for them just because Klipsch has had some really, really, not horrible, but they've had a bad go for a long time. I mean, think about it. Since I got into home theater, a lot of people, you know, your hardcore Klipsch fans, they want a Klipsch sub with their Klipsch speakers. Nothing wrong with that. But a lot of people would, if they like Klipsch, they would still go with another sub. They would go with like a SVS because it easily outperformed them. And so the RP 1600 and that whole series, Klipsch basically was saying, hey, look, we redesigned this thing from the ground up. We know we've had some issues, especially with amp failures, and we want to compete. We want to bring out a product that we can get behind. So they put a 5-year warranty on it. And they're like, we believe in this thing. And so, again, not a lot of people have them. So we really didn't know what to expect. And so doing the blind comparison, it was really cool to see that, you know, a lot of people did enjoy the Klipsch, even more so than some of the other ones.
This was a subjective test. This was not scientific, and it was in one room.
Yep.
So remember, we're drawing correlations from one room and one instance. We did a bunch of tests on it, but this isn't gospel by any means. So
correct. But his
question, for what it is.
I'm surprised by it. I think a lot of people were.
Yeah, I was. Especially the subs that I thought it sounded better than.
Yeah. Jonathan, do those fancy lights have a rave mode?
So they're Govee lights. They do all kinds of stuff. They can dance to music. They have a little population thing where they'll kind of switch through different colors and stuff. You can RGB, WW, you can change them any color you want. So yeah, if you want them in a rave mode, you can have it. In fact, they have a little music sensor that addresses only 7 at a time that syncs it really, really nicely to music. If you use the built-in Bluetooth functionality for music, it's kind of a little bit delayed, but the music sensor that's like a little microphone you put underneath your speaker, it works in time. It looks really, really good. Costs about $25 for the little sensor.
Yeah. Let's see. Nick says he was glad he was able to make MWAVE. Glad you got a chance to as well, Nick. I can only make it on Saturday, but hoping to do VIP next year. Being local to KC, it was awesome having it there. You got a great group of people there. There's something else I saw. Oh, right here. Figure since we're talking about Jonathan, Mark says, Jonathan, I enjoyed your live stream with Sheldon, and I did it as well. I thought that was really, really great. Y'all have a great chemistry there. Really appreciate your points of view.
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to really just thank you guys for the show because we thought it was awesome. We're just attendees. I addressed this on the live stream. A couple people came up to me, actually more than a couple, and said, hey, Jonathan, really thanks for putting on MWAVE. It's a great show. And I said, hey, wait a minute. This isn't my show. This is Michael and Ryan's. This is all the credit belongs to them, and they did a great job. I mean, I really think you guys knocked it out of the park. A+, like really good show.
That means a lot coming from you. I'm just glad you got to enjoy something without having to do anything.
I'll tell you something kind of funny, and you guys probably had the same experience. People were coming out of the woodwork and saying, you know, hi. People I don't know because of this live stream, and a lot of them are your audience, of course. So they're coming up and just saying hi. And so I got to talking to a lot of people more than doing the experience rooms. but that was fun too. You know, I don't mind that at all. So it was a good time all around.
You're a celebrity, man.
In small circles.
He's got the best hair out of all of us, so he's
yeah, for sure. All right, let me go back up here. So what's the drywall repair bill? Yeah, so a lot of the rooms with big subwoofers, they literally were having to wipe off speakers because drywall dust was falling from the ceiling.
I heard it happened in the JTR room, and I saw it happening in the Stereo Integrity and Deep Sea Sound room.
I haven't gotten a bill, so I think we're okay.
Yeah, definitely no push-up comparison. What's Youth Band's project? Okay, so we did that one earlier. Youth Man, congratulations on an amazing event. Appreciate it, brother. Looking back, anything you would have done differently? So number one, I've got to get some help with registration, and I've already talked to my wife, Jessica. So she wants to come next year. She says, all I need is a hotel. Oh, this is actually a funny story. She texts me and she says, all I need is a hotel with gym, Jim. Like,
who's Jim? What is this?
So she was saying like a workout gym so she can wake up and go. But that was hilarious. We both were cracking up. But she's like, you just give me a hotel with a little place I can work out and a pool. She's like, I'm your girl, man. And she'll bring Rebecca, my daughter, and they'll come run registration. Because the reality is I thought it would be sufficient to have somebody there maybe an hour before registration, maybe an hour after registration. But we literally just had people showing up. And again, it makes sense. You're not on our timetable. You're on your own timetable. Maybe you can only come for 3 hours. I had a guy show up the last day, I think for the last 4 hours or something like that. And
there were 3 guys from Kansas City that came in just for a couple hours, and they said that there was nobody at the registration desk, and they all said, hey, who do we pay? Yeah. So it got me thinking the same thing. Like you could offer a half-day admission or something even, or a full-day admission instead of a 3-day pass for those guys.
Yeah, we did. So I had a 3-day pass. I had a Saturday and a Sunday pass. So it was definitely cheaper. I just didn't have anybody up there telling them, hey, if you want to buy a ticket, just go to the website.
He was too busy handing out pens.
Well, I think you could even just do a half-day pass, because there's guys that, especially that live local, they're like, hey, I only can come in half a day. Can I do that? It's extra sales for you that they might not otherwise have.
Yeah. And it's just another part on the shopping cart, I guess. So,
sure.
But yeah, we can look at some of that. But yeah, so that would be one thing I would have done differently. Definitely would not be having vendors ship their stuff to Ryan's house. Good golly. We got 3 big 26-foot box trucks full of stuff, man. That was
We went from 1 van to 3 26-foot trucks.
It was weird.
Things in people's cars.
Yeah. So on the way, on the last day, we loaded up. Ryan rented 3 of them. So they're parked out front. We're loading up. And I called Jessica just to say hi, because I knew I'd be busy the rest of the day. I'm like, babe, we started tearing down. Some of the vendors started tearing down like at 3:00. And we ended the show at 5. And I think it might have been 5 or 6. And I'm looking around. I'm checking all the rooms, make sure they're pretty clean. I'm like, dude, we're killing it, man. This is going to be great. It's going to be an early night. 2 a.m. is when we wrapped up and went to bed.
Newsflash, we were not killing it.
I don't even know what happened, but somehow there was a lot of extra time there. So that would be something definitely I would change. What about you guys? Like anything that you saw during the event that would make it better?
The biggest thing for me is to be able to get away.
We talked about that.
I need to be able to talk to people. As much as I like designing and building out a lot of these experiences and dealing with the vendors and stuff, I need to be able to talk to people. And I can't do that when I'm running events. So one thing we talked about for next year is I want to do the speaker comparison again. We'll do the subwoofer comparison again. We'll do probably the wire comparison or the speaker wire comparison, but I'm going to cut them down to like hour segments, right? So it becomes a first come, first serve type thing. Or maybe we'll put a very small paywall in front of it, like $5 to get in, because we could do just sign up. But the problem with just doing sign up is, what if those people don't show up? So if you put money on it, then the likelihood that people are going to show up is drastically increased, even if it's just a little bit. So that's probably what we talked about doing, because that was one of the hardest things for me is when I'm running events, it's much more difficult for me to look after the vendors, and it's a lot more difficult for me to talk to patrons and carry on conversations a lot like what Michael does. So that's probably one of the biggest things for me. Another thing is going to be the venue. I really liked the venue, but we need more rooms and we need smaller rooms.
Yeah.
We can use some of the bigger rooms. Like I think JTR, they need a big room. Like that room was perfect for Jeff. But for other rooms, like the stereo integrity room didn't need to be that big. The SVS room could have been half that size. So having the ability to put people in smaller rooms and then also having the ability to cater towards companies that aren't wanting to show that stuff off. Like if they just want to show off TVs, or we just want to do channel stuff or any of that, I want to have the ability to do that instead of just shoving everybody in a 15,000 square foot room with 18-foot ceilings and saying, "Hey, here you go." And
Right. Yeah.
that's it. So anything else? I think another thing would do pre-ordered merch. You and I talked about that. I think that would be really cool. And I think we should start doing that now and not just wait till next year. We could put up a design and wait for it. And there's some other stuff that does that.
Yeah.
Where they have to reach a certain goal before it actually happens. And then once it happens, we print them and get shipped. Yeah.
Because a lot of people ask, they're like, "Hey, you got merch here?" I'm like, man, that's one other kind of logistics that I don't want to have to deal with right now. So we just have a third-party vendor. You pay them, they do the shipping, they do the payment processing. It's more just a convenience.
Yeah. So lean on the KC guys to run the rooms. That's a suggestion, but I don't like taking away from other people's experiences.
Yeah.
So having other people run the rooms, while that's great, you're detracting from things that they can do and now putting them in being responsible for something else. And I really like asking people to do that. If they come up to me, be like, "Yeah, I want to run a room." Great. But I don't like going up to people and saying, "Hey, will you do this for me?" Because it's a huge amount of time. It's a lot of stress. It's a lot of things that I don't want to put on people. So Jonathan, do you want to run a room next year?
Yes, I can. But here I would suggest from that standpoint, you guys had volunteers like Richard that were in there they took 3 vacation days and that's all on him. He chose to do it. But then he was also helping unload on Sunday. At a certain point, as the show gets bigger, I realize it's an upstart show. As the show gets bigger, you're going to probably need to hire some crew.
Oh, absolutely.
Volunteers and stuff because
sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's some of the guys that they really blood, sweat, and tears to help you guys. And that's awesome. That's awesome. Local community really lent their backs to you. But, at some point as it gets larger.
Yeah.
100%.
It'll be a lot less work now that I'm going to put a lot of the onus onto through Deerage and having them do their own shipping and tear down and storage. And we're paying companies to do all of that. That was the hardest part with this whole thing this year was that, which I'm not doing again. That was too much.
Yep. 100%.
Too much. Anything else you change, Jonathan?
Yes. So here's something. A lot of the vendors were letting people pick the clips and so forth, but not all the vendors. So I would kind of just say that because your experience is different. It's not a canned experience like Exponent can be or something like that, where you go in and you listen to the same 5 tracks and they give a spiel. I would try to let your vendors know to stay away from that routine because that doesn't feel like the flavor of MWAVE. So as you grow and as you get a hotel room, it might try to morph into something like Exponent. My advice would be don't go down that path.
Sure.
Keep it unique. And so let the people have the remote. I mean, one of the coolest things in the projector room, Nick let people have the remotes on those projectors. Yeah. You're not going to see that in another show, and you want to see that at this show. So, hey, if someone brings a song up or says, "Hey, I want to listen to this song," let them hear it. I mean, that's kind of what this is about. So I think that element, make sure you keep that element because it's so cool and so unique.
So like literally I have a that's my notes from this year. Yeah. So added it. That's
Michael is my organization.
Yeah, Ryan sucks at that, but that's okay. That's what I'm there for. But yeah, I agree. And maybe the reality, I think there's only a few vendors that might be like that. And
most of them are pretty open, but I totally understand what you're talking about.
And that's not what comments that I heard from multiple people too. So it's not. This isn't just my own idea.
Yeah. I agree. We want it to be different.
Correct.
I just need more space to be able to do this stuff.
Sure.
I'd like it to be all comparisons. Then it becomes very difficult to fund, right? So I need vendors to be able to do their own rooms and showcase their own stuff. And we'll continually add more comparisons and experiences and things. I wish it could be all that, but
rotate them throughout the years too.
Yeah.
I really like the fact of doing schedules and giving a break between there instead of just running it the whole 3 days. Because that is a lot to ask. I mean, Ryan literally, there was somebody made a comment earlier. They're like, I never could find Ryan. Then I found out he was literally stuck in that room the whole 3 days.
I was the man behind the curtain.
So you never saw him. So, as far as redesigning the logo, probably not, to be honest with you, just because now you got to rebrand everything.
I like our logo.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with the logo. Now, a T-shirt design, 100%. I'm totally cool with designing that. But as far as like rebranding, it's a big deal because then I got to change everything, videos, a lot of stuff. So,
No, we'll probably keep with this for a while.
but
I think it's a good logo.
314 Carpenter said, love the new Ascend AV shirts and logo.
Thanks.
So, Ryan did a good job on that.
I didn't make it. Paid somebody on Fiverr to do it.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
They did a great job.
Yep. Most trade shows are really boring in the content and interactive elements. Yeah. As far as they're not going to let you like have hands-on and that was cool. So even FOMO and Brian mentioned when people came into their room, you know, they did the same thing. They allowed them to get in. Sometimes they could put up, you know, certain clips on the TV to let them look at it. So we want it to be that type.
So something that the vendors said that I thought was really cool was that they recognized, and many vendors said this, that this show was different because they were able to talk to the attendees at a much more granular and technical level instead of it just being from Joe Schmo off the street. So they felt like they could actually talk about their product instead of it being a sales pitch. Now, some of them, I didn't get to hear them, but this is just the feedback I heard from the vendors. And I thought that was really cool that they were able to do that. So the vendors also recognize and realize the difference in the people that are coming to MWAVE. And I thought that was a great thing worth bringing up. That was really cool of them.
Right.
DIY competition, comparison room. Anything's possibility.
Do you have a DIY room? Oh,
you should have a DIY room, like a comparison. But
I think the per listen discussion on the morning, Saturday morning at 9 a.m. was excellent.
Amazing things.
He did a great job.
Yeah. Didn't he make it just not about per listen though?
Exactly. It was brand neutral. It was just talking about room.
He did a really good job.
20 hertz boundary gain and how a subwoofer interacts with the room and best placement and all that stuff. It was fantastic. I learned stuff in that little seminar, and I heard from people, and I agree with this 100%. More of that kind of stuff. A training session with like REW, how to use it, or how to use OmniMic, or what frequency can I hear? Like I'd be interested in doing something like this for you guys next year. I could run a room where I'm showing like, who can hear what frequency? What content does it make a difference on? You know, like what's the value of a sealed sub below 20 hertz? Why do we want to chase anything like that? Or a ported sub below 20 hertz? What's the value there? That kind of stuff can have a lot of value that people do not experience. So learning rooms, learning sessions, and in addition to the hands-on stuff, which is already awesome.
And honestly, that was the heartbeat behind that. When I reached out to the brands, I sent an email to all of them. I said, hey, look, we would love to offer some seminars. And I would love to provide value to the attendees, teach them something, let them go home with some information that they can implement in theirs. You know, maybe, you know, if it's a projector brand, teach them just some small tweaks that they could do in calibration.
Yes.
Without having to have a bunch of tools. You know, what is the one called convergence? You know, where you align.
Yes.
Teach them how to do that. I mean, that's a really simple thing they can do.
Pixel grid convergence. Yep.
Yeah. You know, sometimes those are off and just a couple little adjustments, things like that would
and
be
even
amazing.
People who have been in the hobby a long time don't necessarily know about that. So yeah, little things like that are incredible.
But I agree. I'd love to have I told Ryan, I said, I would love to have a REW 101. What do you need to run a measurement? How do you take your first measurement kind of thing? And what does those squiggly lines even mean? What are we looking at? Because there are so many people that attend the event. They've never done that. They've never taken a measurement. And so they see these graphs and charts and frequency response, but they don't know what they're looking at. They don't know what they're supposed to be looking at. So just a basics, you need this type of microphone. Here's a couple of brands. Here's one I recommend kind of deal. Here's the cables you need. Here's your laptop. Here's the settings. Let's set it up. Let's take our first measurement and let's answer some questions. So I would love to see things like that to where people can walk away with, you know, some things they can take home. So absolutely. And then Randy says advanced yeah. So that's another thing I would change, Randy. Again, so here's the challenge with that. The advanced info on the seminars would be nice. Totally missed the per listen, which was a deep dive technical stuff. So part of that, some brands literally, while we're at the show, they're like, hey, can we do a seminar? Okay. yeah, let's try to figure out a way to put that in there. A lot of them, I asked them weeks in advance, hey, are you going to, if you're able to do a seminar, let me know. And here's what I need. I need a photograph, like a profile photo, so I can add it to the website. I need a title and just a short description of what your seminar is going to be and the name of the presenter. You know how many? I think we had 6 or 7 seminars. You know how many sent me that information? 1. So I get it. But I think the biggest thing, I just need to start asking earlier. I mean,
I think we have to treat them like toddlers, and it becomes you're doing this, and it has to be suggested by us and say, all right, we'd like you to do this. Can you do that? And they say yes. And then we put it on the website, and then they can't walk away from it.
Yeah.
So I think that's more of what has to happen, because there's a lot of disorganization, like there is with any business in any life. And that's just what I think. It has to have more directive. Yeah. Take a more directed or directive approach.
Yeah. Like having Nick and Andy speak on like projector calibration or, during that. Absolutely, man. Those are great things that we could implement. And again, we're trying to make this thing as, number one, different. We want you to be able to get value out of it. We want people to come, and I've received a ton of feedback. And if you'll notice on YouTube, as well as the Midwest AV Experience Facebook group, I'm continually posting when people share their experience. And so a lot of people are saying, hey man, I drove 12 hours and it was absolutely worth it. The gentleman from Hawaii, Vancouver, Canada, man, this was absolutely worth it. And so that's huge value and huge feedback to us, letting us know we're on the right track. And so we want to keep making this better and better for you guys. Yeah. Saturn says, I've done talks at KCDC at the convention center. People find these super valuable because they are people like me telling you things you don't know about your job. Absolutely. Another agreement here. Herc says REW classes would be great, especially to time-aligned subs, mainly, especially if you're using external DSP, tone balancing them on speakers.
Who needs time alignment? That doesn't mean anything.
There's a lot of good things, a lot of great things that we could do. Cool. Brad needs to bring his wife. She's a riot.
I asked my wife if she would go, and she said no.
Hi, and she lives in Casey. Hi, Marjorie.
Yeah, I asked her, "Do you want to go?" And she just went, "No."
No,
thanks.
I'm so honestly.
Thanks for the support.
No,
her thing is because we have young kids, and it's really hard for her to go.
I still think it'd be awesome if she brings the kids up there one day, just for an hour or so.
Yeah.
Like Kyle brought his wife and the 2 kids. That was awesome to see. His little guys.
Man, these guys get a lot of mileage off that carpet cleaning comment from 6 months ago.
No, so T-Rex, we got it in writing. We asked them twice.
Multiple times.
We asked him twice, and Ryan's like, we need this in writing. So he emailed him and said, look, I need to make sure, because we have certain vendors in the past that have been told they need to turn it down, and they almost didn't want to come if that was going to be an issue. So we made sure, and like I said, it was a great venue.
The Expo Center didn't tell you to turn it down, but some of the vendors told the other vendors to turn it down.
I think they just threw one instance. Zombie says, how many times does Circus get tripped? I only heard of one room kept tripping. And it wasn't necessarily the biggest room, so I'm thinking it was more of a venue kind of thing.
Yeah.
So just might have been a fault in that room, because they weren't running, near what some of the other big rooms were running.
You ready to get to some questions?
Yeah. Looking at one more thing.
Randy's got a good question. Let's put that up there right here.
Is volume going to be an issue at a hotel venue? Great question. That's why we're going to have to rent out the whole place.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a problem, because even if we don't rent out the place, I'm going to put the vendors above the hotel floors so that we're not pushing into the floors above. So I'm already working with them on that stuff. Don't worry about that. Got you covered.
JVR seminar was hilarious, right next to JTR. Somebody did mention, they said next year maybe put the big rooms, the big loud ones, put them next together.
No, I get. I've already got that worked out. If we use
like put
rooms.
focal way down here because they don't really.
I got it.
So
I got it. I tried to do this year, but I didn't. I had to separate. I had to use video as a separator for the audio rooms, and I wasn't able to. Like I had so many loud rooms, it was really difficult for me to keep them separated. So I had to try in different ways.
So to put this in perspective, so people in the audience know what's going on, JTR did some like let loose demos, and they were like at +8 and +14 over reference in different instances. And
they said usually that was after the show, though, right?
They did it a couple times. I think at 4 o'clock was their go time. And I wasn't in there for that, but I heard rave reviews. Like you've never heard sound that loud and clean.
Yeah.
I've been around Jeff Permanian enough times to know when he says like it's like live time. That's when I kind of like start wondering what the back room, put my earplugs in.
It's
not because it sounds bad. It's just so loud. It's like you've never experienced audio that loud. And some of the guys were just eating it up, loving it. I heard people coming out there just gushing, like, "Oh my gosh, that was awesome."
They never experienced anything.
When I got so the one experience I got. The one demo I got was in Jeff's room. I got 3 clips, and people thought I was serious when I turned around and just straight faced told Tony and just went, "There's not enough bass."
All right.
Question time.
Yep, let's hit them. We've been going through them, but then we got sidetracked.
No, we haven't hit a lot of the questions.
Okay, so that all right, so love the videos, appreciate it. So there's a lot of videos. You can get those on the website. If you go to MidwestAVExperience.com, go to videos and 2023 videos. I'm putting all the content creators, their videos from the show there. So there's a lot already added. Randy, really bummed most didn't get to experience the tactile seats. Yeah, we get it. We had one of the processors take a dump, so we had to shut that down. But we're planning on hopefully bringing that back next year.
By the way, please buy the theater seats. They're taking up room in my garage. Please buy them.
So we have 4 single theater seats. So if you're interested,
can you put those down in your listening room in the basement where you have your bookshelf set up?
I don't want to put them down there right now because
you're cutting out.
Oh, I don't want to put them down because we may be moving in like a year. But you know, I don't want to move seats. Yeah, we're built because when we built this house, I didn't have this job, so my theater's great, but I learned a lot, and I need more storage space. The theater needs some work, and so we're staying in the same neighborhood, but doing a different lot. Probably we have a meeting with a builder tomorrow, so it's if you want to go on that journey with me, Jonathan, I could use some advice. I got a conversation with Michael tomorrow, with Mr. Michael Boker tomorrow. So
excellent.
If you guys want to join me after this, we close up the call, we could talk about what speaker path I should go down.
That'd be really fun, man. Yeah. So are you going to build like a house around a theater room as a central core?
Like the Coliseum, just the theater is the house. No. So we're going to suspend a couple things. Like the house we have, it's actually ideal for my business because it has a courtyard. Like it's on the outside, but it's like a separate patio that I can use for exterior demos and stuff to show people, hey, this is what you can do with outdoor audio, and kind of give people what a lot of the audio shops do with a place where they can feel like it's in their own house. But we're going to suspend that, and then under that in the front porch, we're going to suspend that too, so that I can put the theater over there, and then we're going to fully encase it in concrete. So it's going to be all concrete walls. The other option is to put it under a suspended garage. But the problem with doing suspended garages, and I have to talk to them about it tomorrow, is the underneath the like the cement floor of the garage, there's like this metal plate, and I don't know what that's going to do to the audio. So regardless, the whole idea is to encase the whole thing in concrete. And then what I'd like to do is have it wide enough that I can build a faux wall inside the main walls with like a 2 to 3 foot walking gap all the way around. So I don't have to run electrical or any of my, I could run electrical, but any of the speaker wires in the wall, I could just drape them on the floor and then be constantly able to change things out with floor standing speakers and not be bound by anything. I could just change anything out I wanted.
Michael, you know the reason he's building a new house is he ran out of space on his ceiling to put more speakers.
Shut up.
For sure, man.
Ryan, this is exciting news. You had mentioned in passing, and I thought, well, what in the world? But I mean, the world is your oyster. If you're building a house, man, you could make like 26-foot ceilings or something and have like a
26-foot
in the basement. Dig a big hole. What difference does it make? It won't cost any more, except for a little more concrete.
That's awesome.
Let's get. I mean, that'd be epic.
Oh, so
Jonathan's gonna live vicariously through your new build.
Yeah.
Yes, this is gonna be phenomenal.
The idea with it is we're going to terrace the foundation, right? So have it come down. I'd like to have between 14 and 16-foot ceilings at the front on the screen wall.
Let's make it bigger. Let's make it bigger.
Jesus.
We can.
I know, but it gets expensive, and then I mean,
Actually, I've heard it really. You have to deal with water at some point, so you have to figure out where your groundwater table is. But
you're digging deep when you're like groundwater. It becomes.
Get the snorkel ready.
Realistically, you could dig it really, really deep, and you could have like the concrete poured in tiers. Like, man, this could be incredible. It really could be incredible.
How big of the heights are we going to have between these different tiers?
A couple feet would be plenty.
How many tiers do I need?
6. I don't know. I like to help you spend your money. Let's figure this out. I'm excited.
Yeah, so that's coming.
You got IMAX going in there with actual projector.
Yeah, there we go. Look at the audience is getting around.
300-inch screen.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to go down some rabbit holes on speaker manufacturers and stuff because that's going to be a very big dictator in how a lot of this gets figured out. And I had a coming to Jesus realization moment with some of them. I was like, it's going to be how much if I go down that path? I was like, that's not realistic. So we'll talk about it afterwards, but it's coming.
We're excited for you, man.
There's some other stuff that I'd like to do. I'm trying to do this as flexible and in game as possible.
Nice.
So we'll see where it ends up. I don't know. I'd like to make it kind of a destination theater where other vendors and other dealers and things use it. Like By Design has one. There's a Cinematheque one in Dallas. There's a Cinematheque one in Denver. But just because it's not all about me, I want to showcase it and share the love of the hobby and the space.
Bruce says, don't wait till after the show.
Just talk about no, I can't talk about it now because I don't want to bring up certain brands, and I'd like to, but I can't.
Yeah, I'm
curious. You got to try and stay brand neutral.
Yeah. Possibly, Mark. So we're looking at options. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks we'll know, but that's kind of the thought. That way we can.
I'm hoping next week we'll know.
Yeah, that way everybody will be in the same location. Hang out in the lobby. And you guys can.
I told them, and they said at the hotel I was at and was asking about. They said if you tell us that there will be people here, we will keep the bar open. Which that was great. This hotel I'm talking to that I'm waiting on a response for next week was phenomenal. Their communication was great. Their willingness to do different things was fantastic. I mean,
so this would be something that would be really interesting is if you end up doing some type of build videos.
Mm-hmm. We could do that.
Ryan, it's like no pressure, Ryan. No pressure. Like, all kinds of. All
right, let's get back to these real quick. All right, so let's see. David says had a great time at MWAVE. So glad I decided to drive up last minute on Saturday. The JTR room was amazing.
I heard it was the worst.
We had a lot of people come last minute, which was super cool. What TVs are left? Have any?
None.
Okay. Somebody drove back to Maine with an 83-inch OLED.
In
that car.
That's awesome.
John.
It was strapped to the top, I think.
Yeah, he was using it as it was a rain shield. He strapped a camera to his bumper and was using it to project the image through his windshield into the driver's compartment.
Do you have any Marantz 8015s? That's an older receiver. I don't
know. No 8015s. I've got a Cinema 50. I've got a 6015. I've got an AV10, an A1H, and an Integra 2.4.
So quite a bit.
Yeah. Please buy one.
Yeah. Send us email.
I only say that. I say it like that because I don't want them here. Like they need to go. Like just send me an email. Let's get them going.
All right. Terminator Juice. I'm looking to go separate amps at some point in the next 4 to 5 months and then a preamp next year. Not sure if that's a question or if he's asking. There's a lot of models out there. A lot of brands.
Buckeye.
He's a Buckeye man. Hopefully we'll get Dylan there next year. He had a conflict.
He was supposed to be there. He had just had some stuff come up.
Yep. Ryan D-Man saying what
Go back to that other question. Oh, you're on the. You changed questions.
I didn't click it. My hands are like sitting on the thing.
Jonathan's changing.
I did. We just stepped on it.
Ryan, why don't you just buy a local?
I like that. I like that a lot.
No. Because then,
which one were you talking about, Ryan?
The one that we were on previously with the list.
Oh, this one. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you mind saying a list of what you sold and still have to sell it? Send me an email. And we can talk about what's there. There's no public list.
What in the world? Here we go. Brian Feller says, I was also there for about 2 hours Saturday afternoon, but no one was at the registration desk when I walked by. So sorry, man. Here's part of it. I was trying to film the brands. Yeah, we're trying to get that done. So let me know what I owe you. So
$500.
Woo! Actually, registration is still available on the website. I never took it down. Let's see. Randy says Ryan needs to have people to delegate things during the show, like several more Bobs.
Yeah, Bob is fantastic.
Yeah.
Bob is fantastic.
He really does. And he loves what he does. And he was a huge asset last year and just a great resource this year as well.
I think part of the reason he does it is because he knows that I'll just let him take home with.
Say that part again.
I think he does it because he knows I'll just let him take home whatever he wants to play with.
Oh yeah, you did say that. You're like, hey Bob, I got these extra speakers. You want to take those home and play with
them?
Yeah,
just take them home, play with them until I need them.
I'm like, man, I don't have any more space for them. Bruce says I can only imagine.
He loves playing with that stuff.
The biggest highlight for you guys is getting to hang out in person. So yeah,
I can't wait for these guys to leave every time they come in.
Whatever.
No, it's great.
Yeah, no, we have a good time.
I wish I got to hang out with Jonathan more.
Yeah, we just barely crossed paths.
Yeah. He brought me some clothes hangers and then left.
Yeah. 3 and 4 Carpenter. I participated in the blind speaker shootout. For me, Martin Logan scored number 1, SVS number 2, Clips number 3. SVS was very close second, had slightly better mid-bass response than the number 1 Martin Logan, which itself was very smooth. So I definitely like the Martin Logans, but I didn't listen to the whole thing. I just happened to hear one. I'm like, dude, I love that mid-range. I said, that sounds really good. And I told the guy next to me, I said, take a note of this. I said, I think that's the Martin Logan. And it ended up being the Martin Logan. So let's see. Dizwy 1119. You guys think I could power some Arundel 1723 towers with 4 Marantz MA500U monoblocks? Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Easily.
How many watts do those MA500Us have?
MA500U mono.
500.
So Marantz mono.
Get out of here with your
objectivity.
Just stop.
So those are 125 watts.
What? 125 with a 500 in the name?
Oh. Maybe that's at 8 ohms. Maybe it's 500 watts at 2 ohms.
It is at 8 ohms. I doubt it's 500 at 2 ohms. That's
what the hell's up with that name?
Yeah, that's strange.
But yeah, there's a lot of quirky things out there. It weighs 600 pounds. I'm just kidding. That's 13 pounds.
You could certainly drive them. Would you drive them to blowing the drivers? Probably not with 125 watts, but they'll be plenty loud unless your room's enormous.
Randy says, could movie scenes help with lower frequencies LFE rather than maybe just music selections?
Yes.
Speaker comparisons.
So something that people noticed when they were in the other room, in the room EQ room, is they really couldn't differentiate any difference in the low frequencies until they went to music.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I heard a couple times. Was that
until they went to music
between the different room EQs? Like
so,
they didn't.
I mean, that would have to depend on your clips, though. Of course, the media the content that you have.
I don't know. This is just what I heard. I didn't get to hear the room EQ room, so I don't know. This is just what I heard.
Yeah.
But yes, Randy, next year I'm going to try and have movie clips. Hopefully.
It's funny. I don't really.
Jonathan will be in charge of it.
I don't have what I consider critical ears. Like I don't hear a lot of nuances that some people claim to say. But dude, when we were doing the subwoofer comparison, I was nailing them, man.
You
That
were.
was really cool.
You have a more critical ear than you think because you've been around this stuff for a long time.
Maybe I don't know how to describe sometimes.
You're too
what I'm
humble.
hearing. No, I don't know how to describe what I'm hearing. I mean, if you look at my notes on the subwoofer comparison, it's really cheesy, clean, boomy.
I like that you're not using
wet on there.
an undue amount of.
I
Shut up,
feel
Jonathan.
I feel like
Undue amount of adjectives.
when I describe it like that, I feel inadequate. I mean, really, like I should be able to say something better, but
Yeah, but if you were to say something like, this subwoofer has a certain amount of sparkle in the high end, I would then think you're inadequate. Okay, so
okay.
your
Melodical.
adjectives are perfectly
Man,
fine.
You got him melodical. I will never live that down the rest of my life.
You just brought it up on yourself. I forgot. Oh, Tar Heel.
He did. No.
Oh, okay.
No, they're gonna hold me to it because I said it in one video one time.
They bring up wet bass way more than they bring up melodical. Okay.
And the carpet cleaning.
I like how there was
we
there were people walking around with wet bass T-shirts at the show though.
Oh, was there? I missed
Yeah,
I did
Fantastic.
see that.
yeah, those were great.
That's funny. There was right here. Zombie said he's a bit of an introvert in big settings, but it was cool to see everyone in person. And the great thing, Zombies, is a lot of us are introverts. And last year, and I think even I know last year I asked that question. I said, how many of you in the room consider yourself an introvert? And literally almost everybody raised their hand. And I said, great. I said, I like to call myself an extra introvert, or an extroverted introvert. So basically, I mean, put me in a big setting with a bunch of people I don't know, and I'm not the first guy to go say hi. But
You are if it's about home theater.
yeah, and that's the key. I know everybody there. Now, all right, here's a prime example. If I would have walked down that Comic-Con or whatever line, I wouldn't say Collecticon. I wouldn't have said hi to anybody in that room. Guarantee it. But you put me in a room where I know these guys are loving home theater, dude, we'll talk for hours. So
here's my experience in life. Extroverts always think they're introverts, and the rest of us that are introverts are like, no, no.
Extroverts think. All right, so
Extroverts always think they're introverts. My sister's died in the wool extrovert, and she always says that she's introverted, but she's floating around, butterflying to everybody she meets and talking to people and all kinds of things.
I can't do that.
You do that. You do that.
Again, though,
he does it with home theater people.
We're at a convention that I know without even talking to you, I know what you're interested in. Mm-hmm. You're physically at the event because you're interested in home theater.
Here, look, this is the Big Show says it perfectly. Introverts become extroverts when they share a passion together. And that's
beautiful. Literally.
Yes.
100%.
That's true.
Because here's the thing, when you get us all in a room together, we don't shut up.
So here's the thing. I was a student pastor for 23 years. And one of the big things that our pastor wanted me to do was to go into the local high school and just eat lunch with teenagers, build relationships with them, kids that were in our ministry. So I would go there, and it was the most awkward, 30 minutes of my life, because I'm talking with teenagers that I've never met. They're friends. I know the person I went there to hang out with and get to know, but I don't know their friends, and so it's just really awkward for me. So that part, yes, 100%, I'm an introvert.
So we're going into a psychology route here, but I think the definition of it is truly, where do you derive energy from? Do you derive when you go to a event with a lot of people? Do you feel more excited and alive during that event, or do you feel more excited and alive when you're by yourself and not around people? That's kind of the swing definition.
So let me ask you this: can you? All right, so I can go to Outback by myself and eat dinner and be 100% content,
and talk to no one while you're there.
I mean, the waiter, just the waiter. And I would enjoy myself. That'd be totally fine. Does that make me an introvert?
I don't know if you can point to. I don't know if you can point to a specific thing like that, because there's probably things on both sides of the equation. Sure. But the energy thing really plays out. Like if you go to a party with people you know or even don't know, do you feel more alive at that moment, or do you feel more timid and more uncomfortable, and you have to go home to recharge your batteries?
No,
like that's.
I get hyped.
then I think that
I'm
defines
the
you.
hype, I'm the hype man at MWAVE, man. I want to connect with. I'm like, what's up, guys?
He's up being all excited, and I look like I just got hit by a dump truck. Is what it ends up looking like.
He got ran over by the 26-foot box truck
multiple times, and then the liftgate count came down on top of me.
That's funny. All right, let's keep going here. B Cinema, I have a question. These projectors, Sony JVC laser projectors, what's the value when you want to sell them when you're ready to upgrade? Apparently, what I see is there's no way to replace the laser. That is my understanding too. So the good thing is, well, I guess they get 20,000 hours on the lamp, or not the
on
lamp,
low
the laser. Yeah,
to 50% brightness too, though. It's not like till they're dead.
right. But I think what he's saying is, okay, let's say 5 years down the road, you want something else. I would imagine you're still going to have good value there because you still have it's almost like not the warranty, but you still have the lifespan of this, or at least anticipated lifespan of it. But yeah, nobody's really owned a laser projector long enough to find out when do these things start dying on us. Don't know. So good question.
I kind of feel like my 2 cents is the value will probably drop more than a bulb projector if you had it for, say, 8 or 10,000 hours.
because you can't replace it.
Yeah, because you can't replace it. Whereas a bulb projector with 8 or 10,000 hours, you just put a new bulb in it, you're back to brand new again.
Yeah, sure.
But I think you also have to kind of change the equation a little bit, because there are so many hours. I mean, you don't buy a TV necessarily and think about reselling it necessarily. Sure. Yep. And I think you kind of almost have to view a projector like the same way. They're going to last so long. Get one with the features you want, and just kind of realize that it's sort of a sunk cost at a certain point, more so than maybe in the past.
Well, all right. Prime example. I bought my first projector was a Panasonic AE 3000U, and I paid $2,000 or $2,500 for it when I sold it, and it was in perfect working condition. I sold it for $300. I about threw up. I'm like, oh gosh.
Oh yeah.
Actually, so I take that back. I sold it for $300 plus 2 tickets to like one of the I think Universal Studios, because the guy worked there. He gave me 2 or 5. Maybe he gave some for our whole family. I don't remember. It's a long time ago. But yeah, so even the projector bulbs, I mean, that's the way technology is. It's going to take a dive in value.
I don't think it's going to change very much or differentiate very much from what exists now.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's
the projector,
technology and
value is, and how it sits. I think they're going to be worth about the same as what the NX series was, or the previous Sony generation before them. I don't think it's really going to change a whole lot.
Yeah.
The prices will deteriorate, but it's going to be about the same. But it was in previous generations.
Yeah. Sean says, can we have a Florida show like MWAVE? It's just difficult, especially when Ryan does a lot of the logistics for the show. Who knows what this thing's going to evolve in, over time, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. We don't know. But right now we're kind of locked into the Kansas City area. It's just a great community too. And plus it's kind of central. When you do something on the East Coast, the people on the West Coast are going to complain. Oh man, I got to travel all the way across. At least in Kansas City, it's kind of in the middle. So
with your experience rooms, as you grow, and if you were able to hire on people, you could make it a traveling show and just hit. I mean, how many shows do that? Lots of shows.
I've already talked about that.
There's a possibility of that. It'd be scaled down. It wouldn't be quite MWAVE. So, but there's some potential. But I think it would look a lot different than what MWAVE is. Terminator Juice. I heard great things about SVS. All I've experienced are their.
Oh, did you miss the room? He was one of the guys at the show this time. I guess he didn't get to hear the room. That's a shame.
Yeah. So we had him in the speaker comparison for VIPs, and also in their room they had a setup. Chuck says, I have 2 JL Fathom F13s in my room. Can a Fathom F10 work for near field? If not, what would you match with a Fathom 13? That's a 10-inch subwoofer, right? I'm assuming.
But isn't the Fathom 13 like a 12?
Probably.
It's a 10-inch sub.
The 13 is?
The 10, the Fathom 110.
The 10 is not going to work very well for near fields. Drivers not large enough.
Yeah.
You tried it, Jonathan. Smoked a couple of them.
Well, smoked one of them, and just trying to even come like a half or a third of what my 18s do. Just even trying to
For the
approach it.
most part, would you recommend like a 15 larger for a near field subwoofer unless you're attaching it to the seat?
Yeah, now that's an important distinction. We've talked about this before. The driver diameter needs to be like basically the distance to your back or smaller or less. So if you have 15-inch driver, you need to be about 15 inches away from the cone. Well, the cones usually have an indent, so you're losing an inch or two there. So you, by the time you get a 10, you have to be really close. And also the 10 is sitting on the ground. So unless you prop it up or mount it on the back of the seats, it just doesn't have that much feel.
Now I'm just picturing somebody mounting a boxed enclosure to the back of their recliner.
Yeah, well, it doesn't even have to be in a box. It can just be free.
I know, but I'm just picturing this giant wood box attached to the back of the recliner.
Yeah.
For sure.
Sheldon got really good feedback on his direct attached.
The open
12s.
bathrooms. Yeah.
He's got 12s, 2 of them actually, mounted on the back of his chairs, like here and here or whatever. And you know, people are saying that they felt really good, really natural and enjoyable. So
like I said, his room was totally different this year than last year. And I've had a VIP today. He said, "Do you think it's wrong if I do the VIP experience again next year?" He said, "Is that selfish or should I let somebody else do it?" So he had an amazing time going to the 4 home theaters. So, but yeah, I think if you get bigger subwoofers, I think that would be more ideal. David says, "Jonathan, the acoustic treatment behind you, how does that come? Is it all together as one piece, or do you have to put each individual piece together? And what did you use to hang it?"
So they're individual pieces, and they're like, if I can make my fingers move there, it's like that. Like, see that piece there? That's like an individual piece. You can,
right?
Yeah, you can shape it any way you want. It's 3.5 inches thick in the middle and basically narrows down to nothing at the end. I tried Loctite's adhesive spray and that didn't work very good, but 3M Super 77 works really good to stick that on the wall.
So
and
I'm assuming
it stays.
The bottom ones you just cut, right?
So the box comes with some like half pieces and stuff, so I just use those down there. But you could cut them, sure. They're more of a dense foam than like, you know, your traditional foam that you have in like the 12 by 12 square. It's kind of real smushy and kind of lightweight. This is a denser foam. Like you push on it, it's harder to push your finger into it.
Okay. Brian says, one thing that might help on building community. What about, we got that one. Chris says, "I'm doing a 5.2.4. Should my surrounds be located behind me or to the sides at ear level?" So he's got 5 speakers. So so he'd have 3 up front, 2 on the side. So on a 5.2, if you look at Dolby's website, I think they're almost like at an angle in the back.
They're slightly behind you.
Yeah. Dolby layout guide, I think is what I searched for.
Yeah.
I'll pull it up here in a second. All right. Speaker guide, speaker setup.
I think you're in the rooms I've experienced, you're always better having a little bit behind you. And the reason I would say that is if you have it directly on 90 degrees and you have a seat on left and right of you, you're kind of getting people's head on left and right of you is kind of blocking that speaker from your ear if it's direct line of sight, like straight 90 degrees. But if you have it 100 degrees or 110 degrees, you're still going to get that sound, even if you have someone sitting at the left or right of you.
It's actually what Dolby recommends.
So you can see right here, they recommend 110 to 120 degrees behind your listening position. So they're kind of at an angle. Now, if you go to a 7.1, then you can have those at 90 degrees to, I think, 110.
Sides.
So they could be directly beside you, and then the other ones would be a lot further behind you. So great question there. Brian Iowa says, "Does your streaming device need to be Dolby Atmos capable if your AVR already decodes it?"
It needs to be capable of outputting that
bitstream, right?
So it can pass bitstream and not even know it. I think that's how the old players can play Atmos.
Correct.
But
the
streaming devices don't. Yeah, I mean, so that's just all over the map, right? Some are bitstream, some are Dolby MAT, M-A-T.
Some are PCM.
Yep, linear PCM. So that question has too many faucets to answer directly, I think.
So typically what I try to do, Brian, and I don't know why, but I want to see Dolby Atmos on my, or DTSX or DTS or whatever, True HD on my actual
display.
Yeah, on my processor.
On your receiver display.
Yeah, on my receiver. So if your basically you have to have one or the other doing the processing, either the source device, so your Blu-ray player, 4K player, or in your case, the streamer, or you have to have the receiver do it. So I tend to prefer to let my device, the source, just send it bitstream. So basically just handing the raw data over to my processor, and then the processor does the decoding. If you have your streamer do it, or if you have your Blu-ray player or 4K player do the processing, it's going to send it over like linear PCM. And so you never know like what that is. It just says linear PCM on your device. So,
or multi-channel in or something to that degree that doesn't really define it.
Yeah. So I just like being able to know what I'm listening to by being able to see it on my AVR or processor. Great question there. iWin says, I have one 12-inch clip sub, and he's wanting to buy maybe a second one. Is buying a second one a big difference? Great videos. Keep it up. Appreciate it, man. I'm a big fan of adding a second sub. I mean, is it a big difference? Honestly, it depends probably on which clip sub you have, because Clips has, I mean, we've got older subs that, you know, honestly, they weren't really good. Some of them are decent. So it just really depends on what you've got. And that, I would think that would be, I mean, when you add another sub, what's he going to get? Is it 6 dB more or 3 dB more?
Co-located is 6, and across the room, like if you had front, left, and right, it'd be 3 dB.
Okay. So you're gaining 3 decibels. That's not massive. I wouldn't call that huge difference.
I mean, it is, but
well, but I mean, 3 dB isn't massive though. To me, it's
more
not
importantly, it's the uniformity of sound that you're gaining.
Correct.
Seat to seat.
Right. So,
but isn't a 3 dB a doubling?
No.
6 dB is a doubling.
Sorry, 6 dB.
Yep. My understanding is it takes almost like our ears perceive the doubling of sound 10 dB.
Correct. Subjectively, it's closer to 10, right, but by the numbers, it's more like 6.
So 3 dB, I mean, it's not a massive difference just in the volume. So, but like Jonathan said, I think you'll get better seat to seat as long as you're dialing those in and time aligning them. Saturn says, we need more youngins at MWAVE. My sister and I were some of the few younger folks. Is it that people into home theater are older because they have more spending money? I don't know.
How old do you think we are? Michael's only 26 and Ryan's 24.
I'm 47, man.
The sad part about this is he said that he was 36 and I'm younger than him.
Yeah. So to me, what I've seen is in home theater, we definitely have more of a younger crowd, I think. Mm-hmm. When you get into 2-channel, it seems like it's a lot of the older ones. But we're trying to get more people in the hobby. I know we got people in the chat that are 18, that are 17. And so that's super, super cool. And actually, watch this. Give me a second. I will tell you exactly the demographic.
I think your graphic is mainly in its 30s and 40s.
Yeah, it is. So watch this. I'll go to my stats on my channel and I will go to audience. And let's go here. Where's it at? Boom, right there we go. All right, let me share my screen here, and you will be able to see. There we go. This is YouTube Studio. So right down here, can y'all see that? Or do I need to zoom in? Here, I can make it bigger. All right, there you go. So I've got 0.3% from 13 to 17, 6.2 from 18 to 24, 25 to 34 is 15%. So the majority, like Ryan says, this is my crowd right here. 35 to 44 years old. Dadgum, I'm in this one. Yikes, I'm feeling older. So 25% and 45 to 54. And I even have some that are in their 50s and 60s. And we even have like 8%, almost 9% that are 65 plus. So definitely a pretty wide variety. But yeah, not a ton of people in this category here. 6%, 18 to 24.
It's still a decent number of people, even though it's 6.2%.
6% of 110,000. That's still a lot of people. What's funny is when you look at the guy to girl ratio, is like 2%. And there's like none.
And it's probably guys watching on their girlfriend's accounts or kids watching on their mom's accounts.
You know what's funny is I've done that. I'll reply to somebody thinking it's a she, and somebody, they'll reply, "Hey, I'm using my wife's account," because I don't have YouTube or something. It's pretty funny. All right, let's see. Terminator Juice. Does Jonathan still have the best sounding room in KC?
Sorry, I guess we didn't take that question off, Jonathan. I know you wanted it off.
Oh, did he?
Where'd he go?
Disappeared.
That's hilarious, man.
I like
Honestly,
Jonathan's room.
A lot of these guys have amazing rooms, and the cool thing is our VIPs got to experience that, and they even shared with me. They said every room has like its own, strengths. Every room is completely different. There's different brands. There's different styles. Some of them have tactile transducers. Some of them have near field subwoofers. Some of them have a combination. Some of them have 16:9 screens. Some of them have 2.35:1. Some have budget projectors. Some have Mac Daddy projectors. And so I think yours definitely, and I still hold true to this, yours is probably one of the most immersive rooms I've ever experienced because it's so cohesive. And because your speakers have such a wide dispersion pattern, no matter where you're at in the room, man, there's not a hole, which is really cool and unique. I've never experienced that. Usually you start moving around and you get off axis and stuff starts sounding weird. In your room, it doesn't. So definitely a super cool room. But they all, like I said, they all have their unique properties to them. So,
and then it's all flavors of good. Once you get to a certain competence point, and we've talked about that before, you can have individual preferences and there's not really a right or wrong because you've passed that threshold of competence.
Yeah. I mean, they're all basically rock star rooms. Honestly, they're really, really good. Did Perlison say anything about when their in-ceiling speakers will be available?
No.
Okay. Next question. Haterade. By the way, it was great watching Mission Impossible with Jonathan and Chris and all the KC locals. Jonathan, what were your thoughts on Dead Reckoning with no spoilers?
My friends are going to tell me that I don't like movies if I comment on this because I didn't like it. I didn't like it that much. It was okay.
I enjoyed it.
Reviews are on a site, but
But John Wick 4 was his favorite movie.
No, not at all. I know,
that's why I said that.
I think that's why this one didn't hit me that well because I feel like they're kind of they're taking everything and the action and stuff and they're dialing it up one more notch. And I don't want that. I want more towards the realism side. That's my personal preference. And so I felt like I've enjoyed the last 3 or 4 Mission Impossible movies a lot. Like I thought the series was getting better and better. And then they didn't Fast and Furious it like they did John Wick 4, but they leaned it in that direction. They leaned into it. And I was like, come on, don't do that.
Yeah, that was way over the top. We talked about that in the show.
You mean getting hit by 10 cars isn't realistic?
And not dying. That's what was crazy.
And falling. The staircase scene in John Wick 4 was he just kept falling and going and going and going and going.
A lot too.
He did get shot a lot.
That's the funny thing is when you take your thing and do this, and you're somehow bulletproof. I'm like, come on, man.
It is supposed to be shown that the suit is bulletproof.
I know, but there was, oh my god.
And I felt like Mission Impossible had a lot of kind of like overused tropes too, right? I mean, they had the train fight, and then it was like almost playing Unbroken with the train going off the end and stuff that was, I don't know, the motorcycle off the cliff. It looked like there was all kinds of boulders and stuff he's driving over. It just looked too CGI. Like everything was like, I don't want to say this in a bad way because people take offense, but it felt kind of like mindless.
So they get mad.
Look at him. It felt kind of mindless to me. Now, that being said, it was awesome to be with you guys. It was fun to be in there and, everybody saying hi and meeting
new people. He liked you. He didn't
like
the movies. What he's saying.
Yeah. Like the movie was just okay to me.
Yeah.
I do like movies. I do like The Hobby. I'll put that out there because people say
like
I don't.
Good movies.
He doesn't.
Realistically.
He just uses the home theater to lure people down into his theater and then never lets them go. They're all in the back room somewhere in his house.
Hi, Finest. Appreciate the $10 super chat. He says, is Dirac Art the best solution for an untreated room? Does it require a minimum driver size or extension capability for the rears and surrounds? My family room has all this gear, but no treatment. And great question. So Art is something pretty new. And we had a chance to hear 3 different iterations of Art at MWAVE. So Matt actually shared that in the video that they have had 3 storm processors in 3 different rooms, and they were all implemented different ways. So you guys, Ryan, you might know more than that. Jonathan, I'm not as familiar with what
I
Art
don't have enough experience with it
offers,
yet to
right?
be able to offer a solution there.
Just what I heard at the show is my only experience with it. And
Yeah.
it was very subtle in the show. And again, I don't know that that means anything because those rooms were so massive. The speakers were placed in the middle. They didn't really have a whole lot of boundary issues. You know, there wasn't like asymmetrical things they had to deal with or close boundary gain type stuff. It was pretty ideal, really, as far as speaker setup would go, almost like an open field or something. So maybe we didn't really get to hear what its full implementation is, but I'm looking forward to hearing more in the future.
Yeah.
And Ryan, you've got that now in your processor at your house or not yet?
I have it, but I haven't set it up yet.
Haven't had
We've
a
tried it a
chance.
couple times, and I was telling Matt that my room is where Dirac goes to die. It never works in my room. But my room's really, really hard because my speakers are not normal, right?
We got a new room. We're not even going to worry about it. We're getting a new room, new house.
But the speakers are bi-directional. It's rough on Dirac and really any room EQ. So I don't think that's really good. It doesn't know what to do. It's like and then falls flat on its face. So
it's like you got a weird room.
Not doing it. So it tried.
Yeah.
But I don't really have enough experience with it to have an opinion.
I mean, honestly, High Finance, that's the, I guess, the marketing side of what they're saying. Hey, look, that's what this offers, is to help people, especially that don't have treatments. You've got a room that you really can't put those. Maybe, you know, your wife. I know in my room, in my living room, Jessica's like, we're not hanging. I don't care if you want to put pretty stuff on them. We're still not hanging panels. And so I'm stuck with that. So I guess I got to buy Storm, Jessica. Hope you're watching.
I got a demo unit. You want it?
Seems like that ain't happening.
The one that Ryan.
No, not the one that broke. That would be funny.
All right, let's crank through these. Do you think you'll have, ER says, do you think you'll have to limit the amount of people that can come in the future? Just wondering as this thing grows, how to keep it from becoming like other shows where thousands of people attend. Great
question. That would be a great problem to have.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
you just have to have more experiences room. The content has to grow with the attendance.
Sure. That makes sense. Because I know even this year we had 300 people there, but it didn't feel like 300 people because the rooms were so big and they were so spread out. We had 14 rooms. So the most I ever saw in a room was like 30 or 40 people, which seems like a lot, but the room was so massive, it didn't feel like a lot, you know? Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I mean, again, we're kind of evolving as we go. And when we get to that problem, we may have to cut it off, you know, because again, we want to provide a great experience. So I never want to sacrifice the experience for just numbers, you know, because that's not the heartbeat of MWAVE. So, but like Jonathan said, just the fix to that is just provide more stuff for you guys to enjoy.
Make Ryan do more stuff.
Yeah. But all right. So Dope Action Game. I like that name. Dope Action Gaming Mode. Why is JTR Audio not Dominus certified? Great question. Don't know. Probably have to ask Jeff.
I think it's a paid certification.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely costs money. And I would imagine the higher tier you want to try to get certified for, the more they're going to charge you. So
yep.
Back in the days of the THX, well, I guess still the same thing, but you know, AVRs, sometimes they would have they would meet the criteria, but they don't want to pay the licensing because they don't feel like it brings value to them. Part of the reason why Per Listen was the first brand to hit Dominus is they were a brand new company. And so that was one way that they immediately added credibility because nobody in the market had ever hit Dominus. And they came out with like 21 products and all of them met Dominus certification. So
I will have a little aside here discussion on THX. I think THX is kind of, it doesn't have the credibility that it once did in my eyes when I was younger in the hobby, because we've done subwoofer shootouts and stuff with THX accredited subs, like THX Ultra 2 accredited subs, and they didn't win. They didn't even get close to winning some of those subwoofer shootouts compared to like the Internet Direct ones from JTR, Seat and Sound, or some of those types of companies. And going in, we all kind of expected, all right, this means something. It's like the gold standard. And this is, at the time, Ultra 2 certification was the highest standard. In fact, at one of our subwoofer shootouts, the THX Ultra 2 subwoofer like died during the thing on the Tron Legacy soundtrack. Like it was too much for it. It just blew up effectively.
Are you saying that THX is like the Better Business Bureau of sound?
I'm saying that there's some oddities with THX that I wish were more clear. Like, you want to try to find out what THX Dominus means?
They won't
What does
tell
it
you.
mean? They don't tell you. So we don't know if JTR meets that or not. It's like a black box label. It's a hidden label. Now you can inquire if you're a vendor and pay money to find out what it means, but then you got to pay a subscription or a licensing fee and all that stuff that Michael was talking about. So
I don't even think they let the vendors know. I mean,
No,
they give them some vague stuff,
they'd have
but
to know what to design
They
for
know.
too,
do
right?
they? Think so?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
but I've asked for listen and they won't tell me.
But they okay. I didn't know that they knew. Okay.
So I don't know anything about what Dominus means, and I wish I did. That's part of the problem. Like, right,
Yeah.
if it's an objective benchmark, let's
Mhm.
make it an objective benchmark.
Sure. And
That's my
honestly,
thoughts.
I'm not sure I would agree with this statement. Many speakers can reach dominance. They just don't want to pay that. I don't think that a ton of speakers can do that capably, because part of what they look for that I've heard, so actually I guess it goes back to that they do know, is there are certain distortion levels that they have to meet. So it's not just about output.
Yeah, but there's more. There are several speaker companies that I can think of that would meet.
Right, but I don't think there's many. You know what I'm saying?
Depends on what you mean by many. But yeah, I agree.
More than 10? That would be, I mean, well, if you got thousands of speaker brands, I mean, I would think many.
I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
be-
There's
Oh,
not like tons, but
Correct,
there's
that's right.
there's quite a few.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it had value in the early days for sure to kind of say like, all right, this speaker is going to give you kind of an acceptable level of sound in an average size home theater room, and you got your THX Select and your THX Ultra, your THX Ultra 2, and now Dominus. I just wish it was more clear on what those levels meant.
Well, I think the reason they don't tell anybody is because if they tell people and other speakers are meeting it without buying into the THX certification, well, then there goes a revenue stream.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's why they don't tell anybody, because there's probably other speakers out there that are meeting it. They just aren't paying to pay to play. If you,
the other crappy thing about it, just frankly, is that they watered it down at some point along the way. THX labels were getting thrown on everything, just like sometimes Dolby Atmos labels getting thrown on everything. You got a pair of headphones, Dolby Atmos. Like
soundbar, Dolby Atmos.
Wait a minute, come on, you're watering down your brand name.
Laptop speakers, Dolby Atmos.
Yep.
And you're right. I mean, think about it. We used to have THX computer speakers that were this big.
Yes.
Like, what does that even mean, man? You're right. Makes sense. Evan, good to see you in the chat. Had a great show. They brought a ton of product for MWAVE. Super grateful for them. Let's see.
Apparently we're saying Dominus wrong. Or Dominus. It's THX Dominus. Dominus.
Actually, that's do minus.
I still don't know how to say it. Sorry, Frank.
But I thought it was Dominus because that's how they say it in Jurassic Park.
Yeah, so that would be Dominus.
Here you go. Gene Splicer said he had a phone that had Atmos, so that's along the same lines.
Yeah,
what? Get out of here.
Dude.
Go ahead. I took over your. I showed when you had something up. Go back to what you had.
All right, back to Joe. On that note, loading those Martin Logan speakers has put a permanent impression on my back.
Isn't that the truth?
Like 400 pounds a piece. What was funny is they had these in crates, and I was in the room filming, and I said, "Oh guys, I want to get a short of this," and I hit record. They went to lift it up, couldn't lift it all the way up. They had to put it back down. I'm like, all right, we'll do another take. Then they got on the other side and lifted it up. I think they were trying to lift it up upside down.
Oh man, those were really heavy. I was involved in that part of it too on the way out on Sunday night.
Yeah.
We were coming the conversation. There's a point where speakers get too big and they cross that line. Like when you have to ship it in a giant wooden coffin, sarcophagus as it was.
Yeah.
It's wild.
JTR 410s.
Sorry. So Brian, as you grow and need more volunteers, which we will, the bigger this thing gets, the more people, we're going to need to solicit help from. What about a possibility of offering a free general admission, perhaps half price, or maybe a piece of merch that you mentioned in getting? Absolutely.
Slave labor. No.
What's that? What'd you say?
Just ignore me.
So definitely, I mean, those are all things that we've been thinking about. It's like, okay, and these are growing pains, which is a great thing to have. And, just seeing us grow 4 times in the first year, 4X, I guess that's huge. And if we're going to go from 300 attendees to possibly 1,000 next year, absolutely, we got to think some of these things through. So
that's our goal.
Yeah. So it's a lofty goal, but
we need to have a shirt, Dr. Dominus.
I love it. Johnny E. Question, Youth Man and Ryan, once again, great job on MWAVE 2023. Thank you so much, sir. me and a few guys was talking. You think you can reach out to MWAVE because they have home theater equipment. A lot of guys use the product. We did. So I actually reached out.
Yeah, but
What?
we have a little bit more credibility now than we did
I
last
know.
time we reached out
I
to
know.
them.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'd love to have monoprice there. I mean, Jonathan was talking about bang for your buck. It doesn't get much better than that. There's a ton of brands out there that I would love to get to the show. Low end, as far as budget friendly, some mid tier, some high end stuff. I told Clips, I'm like, dude, y'all missed an incredible opportunity. You know, your subwoofer did very well in the comparison. You could have had your own room, let people hear these subwoofers in a home theater environment with your brand new reference Premiere. But again, every brand's got their budgets already allocated sometimes, and so it's that. Sometimes it's personnel; they don't have enough people to do these shows. So there's a lot of reasons. But man, I'd love to see MWAVE be there. I just saw a super chat come in. Eric, appreciate the $10 super chat. Wish I didn't have to cancel trip, missing out on all the demos regarding JTR. How would they compare with pure high-end audiophile speakers in a stereo setup, similarly priced, or are they more for home theater? Great question, Eric.
A lot of audiophile speakers suck. I'm just gonna say it bluntly.
Yeah.
They do. They're not. There's very few good speakers. I mean, if a speaker's good, it should be able to do everything very well.
I agree.
Well, not everything, but
Yeah.
a good amount of things, because there's always trade-offs.
Sure. So one thing that Jeff even mentioned in the video I posted today is that he made sure to provide both home theater experiences or demos, but they also did a lot of 2-channel, a lot of music, a lot of multi-channel. So I think they do very well for both. And I've heard a bunch of different JTR systems. But as far as similarly priced audiophile speakers, stereo setup, a lot of that's going to be your preference.
I mean, you can get a pair of 215s for $4,000. I mean, that's that's hard to beat.
Yeah.
Do you think it's fair to say they have a pretty different sound, Michael, in your opinion? Like if you lined up a pair of towers that had soft dome tweeters and kind of a relaxed top end.
Yeah, if you paired those, let's say with Paradigm, you know, if you paired them with Bowers and Wilkins, if you paired them, it's just gonna have a different sound. They've got a horn loaded compression driver.
So wouldn't you say a lot of that's the imaging?
What's that?
How they're gonna image?
That part I don't know. I just think that the tonality of the speaker is going to sound a lot different. And how they project the sound is going to be different, because these are really, I mean, like some of his speakers, well, I guess on the RTJ, they're 23-inch horn.
Yeah.
That's massive. That's going to be a way different sound than a titanium tweeter or especially a soft dome tweeter. So
Peter says, like, Ryan doesn't have audiophile speakers. I do. Notice how I said most of them suck. We didn't say they all suck. Okay, just and not all of them are for everyone. I'll just.
So Randy says we're gonna need a big hotel to have 250-inch screens. Not really.
We're gonna have some big rooms.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be in hotel rooms. Like we've got to have.
Some of them are going to be in hotel rooms.
Yeah, but I'm saying most of these hotels have bigger meeting rooms.
Well, we're just going to have Seymour give us a wraparound screen, just encompass the entire room in screen material.
Let's see. YouTube is so cool. I think it's cool that you guys are doing what you love and making money doing it. YouTube is so cool. In just the internet in general and social media has opened up opportunities that previously haven't been afforded. I've seen people, content creators, literally in third world countries that are doing extremely well for them and their families, because they're able to reach a global audience. And so it's allowing more people to share their passions, whether it's teaching people how to, you know, build something or fix something. So absolutely. And YouTube is a great opportunity for that, for sure. There was something else I was going to show. Seems like everyone had a great time in MWAVE. In 20 years, we'll all be at the Midwest hearing ad experience. Should be aid. But yeah. No, the good thing is, I mean, literally, even at the home theater tours, in the past, sometimes I bring my earplugs every single time. And if I feel like it's getting too loud, I'll pop them in. I have no problem protecting my hearing, but I didn't use that at all this year because everybody was playing at, just to me, very comfortable levels. Sometimes they would hit reference, but it wasn't definitely over the top.
Sometimes you'd get a movie transition that was a little hot than the one before it.
Yeah, but I mean, as long as it's not
Interstellar
sustained for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, that's when it gets difficult for me. All right, a few more. Question to Ryan from a couple of us that are watching this right now. Is the new Sony or JVC projector a paperclip once the laser goes out? We kind of addressed that earlier.
Yeah, if it's gone out already, you should be under a 3-year warranty and it'll get replaced. But
I think
it's outside,
when it dies, though, it's useless because you can't replace.
I'm sure you could pay to get it replaced.
Somebody said in the comments that the JVC lasers are around $4,000.
Oh,
it's not going to be cheap like a bulb.
But
I never even heard that you could replace them. I thought
I'm sure you can. The manufacturer, I'm sure you can.
Okay. It just may not be as easy like a bulb where you literally unscrew, pull it out, push it in, and you're done. You may have to send it in to repair. All right. What mic can measure below 20 hertz accurately? Omni mic.
Omni mic can. But the Omni mic, Jonathan, you and I have seen that, does that weird thing at 10 hertz. It like has that bump. Well, remember we saw that when you came over to my house several months.
You're talking about U-mic.
Sorry, the U-mic. The U-mic, not the Omni mic.
Yeah, the U-mic does that. It's always a little hump at that
10 hertz
frequencies. Yeah,
does weird stuff.
Omni mic's supposed to be accurate down to 5 hertz, but it's a $300 mic. So, and then you got an Earthworks that's accurate, but it costs more.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So I guess the answer is buy an Earthworks.
Ooh, man.
And you can't buy an Omni mic right now.
Not till another month or two. Yeah. They're coming out with version 3.
Nice. Gonna be more expensive, probably.
I don't know. Version 2 was the same price as version 1. I had both, so $300.
Economy's changed since then too. So
true.
We'll see. John, hey guys, do you suggest running towers with powered subs like the SVS Ultra towers or towers without when using multiple subwoofers? I like having my subwoofers separate because then you can place them around the room. When you have subwoofers built, and I don't even know if you'd call them subwoofers, but when you have drivers like that built in, well, to me, a subwoofer would be something like the powered speakers from Definitive Technology, where they're putting active drivers like bass drivers in the sides of them. Again, you just don't have any control over where those are placed in your room. So to me, I like having just passive speakers, having separate separate subwoofers, so you can put them where they sound best in your room. But
I think that depends on the speaker and depends on what your processor's capabilities are. If you have something like a Storm audio that can do directional bass, and you have not these SVS Ultras, but if you had something like a JTR 215 and they had 15s on the towers and you could do directional bass and have it play where you wanted it and then use the main sub as a port for the tower, then yeah, I think that would be worthwhile. But in this case, I think you're going to be much more advantageous to having dedicated. You're going to cross those towers over probably at 70 or 80 hertz anyway.
Yeah,
would be my guess. Because you're not going to you're not going to want your crossover on your towers to be terribly different than the rest of your surrounds and your tops. Otherwise, you're going to notice.
SVS spoke to this a little bit in their demonstration, actually. They were saying that they talk to the customers and make sure that their room is a good fit for their speakers because they don't want to have the subwoofer too close to a boundary wall or so forth, firing directly into a sub or firing directly into a wall. So they were saying, and it's common knowledge on the forums too, once you get a measuring mic, rarely where your position for your speakers are going to end up is necessarily the best place for your subwoofer.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be able to move that subwoofer around a little bit, measure it, get it optimal before you do your EQ. You could get lucky, but it doesn't always work out that way. It rarely works out that way, I probably should say.
Yeah. Super quick question on the URC MX990. I think that was the model I had. I had a MX don't remember the exact model number, but basically the short version is, for the most part, that was a dealer only software. I just happened to have somebody that in like a Facebook group that had it, and they sent it to me. This was a long time ago, and I didn't like it. So hopefully they upgraded that, made it easier to use, and it was almost like building a website. You had to manually do each individual button for a remote, and you had to manually program it. It would do a lot, but it just wasn't for me. I wanted something that I just said, okay, I just bought this amplifier, or I'm not amplifier, but this AVR. I want all the buttons on there, and I want to download it. So just wasn't really my cup of tea, but pretty much you just need to find somebody that's got it, or have a dealer program it. AJ James, what are the brand of the theater seats? Oh, and can you ship them? So those were Valencia. Yeah, I answered that in the chat a long time
If you
ago.
pay for shipping.
He's like, I got them in the box.
I got them in the box. They're on pallets. You want to? Absolutely.
Slap a label on there. Terminator Juice, you have $4,000 max. What preamp would you recommend? $4,000.
The HTP one's back ordered.
I like the HTP,
but it's
one.
back ordered. I don't think you can get it.
Price is now.
It doesn't have to be a pre-pro in the traditional sense, because some of them have the ability to turn off the internal amps, like the Denon does, and I think the Marantz AVRs too.
I think Mikey says the AVM 78K recommends that. I still need to get that one reviewed. I got
maybe a Denon 4800 or the 6800 when it comes out.
Solid.
Be my suggestions. Because they're going to be able to turn off the amps and run them in pre mode. Otherwise, you're paying for an AV10, which is a lot more expensive.
And you got any speakers left?
Email me.
I would imagine.
I do. Speakers and subs.
All right. Any Seymour screens, or did they take them all back with them? I guess asking.
They took them all back, but if Evan's still in chat, he can probably answer that question if they have any for sale.
Evan, if you're still in the chat, let us know.
Seymour does have a B stock on their page too.
They do. They may be on the B stock area. I know they sold a couple of them.
Yep.
Yep. So Anthem or the Monolith, both good choices.
No, that was a question. That wasn't related to the past question.
I just unchecked it. What was the question?
Anthem AVM 70 or a Monolith HTP 1.
Okay.
I think they're both good. I think the Monolith's going to have more flexibility, but you can't buy them. They're out of stock.
Yeah.
I learned over the weekend that ATI makes that Monolith.
Yeah, I knew that.
Makes the pre-pro?
I don't know about the pre-pro. They're amplifiers.
No, that's what I'm talking. I know they make the amps, but supposedly somebody was telling me they had to send one back, and they were given the ATI shipping address to send it back to ATI.
Yeah, that I didn't know.
Reputable company.
Mike says ATI makes the amps.
Yeah, I know they make the amps. They also make supposedly the pre-pro.
And it makes sense because, again, I mean, Monoprice is, I mean, that's not what they do, but they're partnering with people that do that. And so kind of the same thing when he had Dan Romer from Perlisten designing his subwoofers. I mean, Hobie doesn't know about designing subwoofers, so he hires somebody that's very proficient in that to make a quality subwoofer for them in their price point. All right. Grave Danger, can you throw in some projectors under 5,000 in the shout room?
There were.
What do we have in there that were under 5,000?
The Epson LS 12,000 is 5.
Was under by $1.
And then they had a Ben Q in there on
oh really
Saturday or Friday. I don't know. I didn't see that
Ben Q in there.
Okay.
The owner had to take it home, had to leave early, so it didn't stay. But it was intended to be in there.
It was Andy's.
Nice.
It's just we run out of slots, right? We can only accommodate so many projectors. Like we only had an 8 port switch, so we only have so much that we can do, and a lot of the projectors that people want to see are like LS 12,000, all three of the Sonys, all 4 of the JVCs. Maybe next year
Mhm.
I would have liked to do a ultra short throw room, but I think the guy that we were working with got really sick, so we weren't able to make it happen.
You had a few of those ultra short throw in other rooms too. Some of the
LS 800 was
FPS had
there.
one.
I think
Yeah.
there was a Hisense
Hotel room
somewhere.
had one.
Yeah.
I think there's two of them there. I think.
Yeah, Bruce says it's 6,400 here there.
That is unfortunate.
That's a lot. It's interesting. So High Modulus says, my understanding is Avium 70 software bias is more stable and less glitchy than HTTP1.
Oh, probably.
But here's the interesting thing. I reviewed the HTTP1. I barely had any glitches, but I've seen a lot of people mention the Avium 70 had some glitches.
Yeah, I think it just
initially. So hopefully they fix some of those.
It's just based on your user experience.
Yeah. I didn't have any glitches with it though. All right, a couple more and then we'll wrap it up. So do you think I could power a JTR 5.2.4 system with just a receiver?
Definitely need class A.
You cut out real bad.
He's lying. That's why they cut it out.
definitely need class AB mono blocks.
Yeah. I think you
No,
can
you could,
run it. So
you
here's
could
the
absolutely do it on those.
I run a Monolith 11X and I'm only running 200 watts to the front three and 100 watts to everything else.
Yeah, but I don't even think you would need those amps. You could run it off an AVR pretty easily.
Yeah, you can, but I'm just saying you don't need to have a massive power. Now,
No.
Jeff, if you watch the video, Jeff was running 1,000 watts to each Atmos speaker. He was running 2,000 watts to each regular speaker and 4,000 watts to his subwoofer.
But he's doing that because the room is enormous.
And they're going 12 or 14 over reference.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely insane.
And if you talk about getting to a SPL range that needs 1,000 watts, we'll get 3 dB up. Now you need 2,000 watts. So it starts to expand exponentially. So I get it.
Keep in mind those JTR speakers are around 100 dB sensitive.
Very sensitive, yep.
And so with 1 watt, man, you're making 100 dB, and reference is 105.
Yep.
You're using SPL to distance, but they're just so sensitive.
Yep. A couple more. D says per listen SB4 or R5T for a 7.2.4 living room home theater. What do you think?
Living room. I don't got one of those.
No, it's because you didn't clean the carpet, Jonathan.
Imagine putting listen speakers in your love room.
It's got a spinning bed.
Man.
I just picture Austin Powers on his plane when he jumps on there and he's got the bed spinning around in circles.
That's some romantic music.
I think in that particular situation, you're better served doing bookshelves with subs. I think if you cross them over at the same position, you're not going to be able to tell the difference.
I don't even know what those speakers are. Per listen SB4?
The S4Bs are their bookshelves. It's their flagship bookshelf. The R5T is their tower. I think it's their second level down in the R series because I think they have an R7T, I think, and then they have the R5T. So it's a tower. And I would say if you have subs, you're not really going to notice the difference.
Mm-hmm. You're just going to need to clean those love room carpets.
Sorry, Jonathan.
Oh, mercy.
Yeah, never let it down, guys. How are the Valencia transducers? I have 3 Tuscany chairs and was curious if it's a worthy addition.
I think they did fine.
I didn't get a chance to check those out.
I didn't have them in a side-by-side comparison with the buck kickers, so I don't know how far down they could go because they're a puck style transducer, but I think they did decently well. They felt fine for the music. They did great. And they were super easy to install. They come with the metal plate and the transducer. It was great.
That makes it nice.
Yeah.
Marvin, what projectors were featured this time? And I'm guessing
LS 12,000, Sony 5,000, Sony 6,000, Sony 7,000, JVC NP5, NZ7, NZ8, and NZ9.
NZ5? MP5.
MP5.
I'm like, what? When did they come out with that one?
It's a new one.
Yeah. So what were the results? I didn't get a chance.
I wasn't in there enough. I don't know.
So, and then the last question of the night, ER, I think SVS room proved that the difference between a $10,000 room and a $150,000 room is less than we would like to admit.
Yeah,
Thoughts?
I agree.
I agree.
It's that competence level again.
Law of diminishing return.
Oh yeah.
Got some.
That's not to say that there wasn't any improvement between the different rooms at the different price points, but you are correct. It's not as vast as you might expect for the price differences.
Mm-hmm.
At least at the volumes that they played, right?
Yep. Super cool, man. Well, we are at almost 3 hours, so we're gonna wrap it up. Any other thoughts, guys? So hopefully in the next week, maybe we'll have dates and a location for you.
I will not be here next Sunday.
I will not either.
So, Jonathan, you want to hold down the fort, or you want to?
You and Sheldon take over
Or we can just take a hiatus and come back the week after. Yeah. No, I won't. We won't be here the week after either because we'll be at Audio Advice.
Yeah. So I'm going to visit my daughter. She's hiking the Appalachian Trail this coming up. Well, yeah, because I think I've got an 11-hour drive on Sunday, so it'll probably be super late.
So we'll probably reconvene the second week of August.
Yeah. Well, you're probably going to be gone to Atlanta Home Theater.
That's not on a Sunday.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's actually a Thursday, Friday.
Like Friday or something. I'm only gone that one day.
Okay. I'll be gone the 27th of August at Newbie's house. So maybe you two guys. So anyway, Herc says, I like Jonathan's podcast. Let him host it. Thanks for another great show, guys. There you go. Bruce says he'll hop on with Jonathan. You'll hold it down. Let's do
it, Bruce.
I love it.
Live from Audio Advice. The problem with that is when after close, so we'll be gone or tearing down or something.
Mm-hmm. He's clearly the most competent. Talking about you, Jonathan.
Look at this. I posted a comment up there. We got to get the answer to pull in. How
deep try and dig his basement?
There we are.
About 15, 20 feet?
The audience needs to speak.
Swimming pool in my basement, evidently.
Jonathan, there's a lot of people showing love for you and your podcast, bro. So,
well, thanks. Well, I'll give credit to Sheldon.
That should be. You're just too dang humble. I think both of y'all did a great job. 100%.
I mean, everybody tuned in to watch Sheldon, not Jonathan.
There you are.
All right. So think about this. How many times did I tell you, hey guys, man, I'm exhausted. I've got to get some sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And what did I end up doing?
Staying up and watching.
I was there. Jonathan was like,
we told you to get off here.
Go to bed.
And I was falling asleep on the couch watching it.
I'm like, I'm enjoying it. So no, it was really good stuff. So
look at this comment right here. There is no depth. You go to bedrock. And then you get out the TNT. It's not even.
I'm going to be on the news. I'm going to be on the news. Olathe man digging to Earth's core.
You dig to China and then minus a foot. That's nice. You can go 4 foot past the water table.
We're going straight up vertical immersion.
I've heard it said, Ryan, and I mean, we'll have to figure it out. You'll have to get some quotes or something, but I've really heard it said because it doesn't change the footprint of the house beyond the basement. Like you're paying for extra digging. The excavator is already there, so it's not that much cost, and you're paying for extra concrete. But other than that, it's not changing the house from the first and second story. So it's not that much of an expense, is what I've heard said.
God, I'm gonna have like a Christie eclipse by the time this is over. It's the only thing that's gonna light up this screen. We'll talk about it after we get off.
It could be incredible. It could be one of a kind.
We'll talk about it after we get off this stream.
So I'm rewinded. That guy said, talk about it now.
Ryan, are you going to Atlanta Home Theater? Yes, I am going to be there. I'll be there for Mad VR.
So Scott, to answer your question, can I share the Jonathan's podcast? I dropped Jonathan's channel in the chat. So definitely subscribe to him. And if you go to his channel and click on live, he's got one video. So it's not hard to find. So hopefully we'll see more live streams from Jonathan. That'd be awesome. So yeah. All right. Well, I think that's it, man. Well, let's go and wrap it up because I want to find out what Ryan's gonna be putting in his new house.
Oh yeah.
New theater. So, guys, hope y'all have an incredible week. I know it's been a long one, but y'all had a lot of questions. Appreciate the feedback. Definitely appreciate all the love from MWAVE. I've got more content coming. Trying to do one every day this week, and it's already 11 p.m. So I got a lot of editing tonight if I'm going to get one out for you guys tomorrow. So I hope y'all have an incredible week, and we'll see you in 3 weeks? It's going to be a little bit because we'll be gone. So
Thanks,
all right.
everybody.
Have a good one.
See ya.